got a, we got coming in, we're going to a Sunday service with him. Invite the pastor, pray for the pastor. Meeting. This lady,
Sister, right here?
yeah,
Sister Jack, she's pastor. But I give her my card.
okay, you remember?
I remember because I write it on my phone.
Yeah, we will not have time of prayer for the pastors at the postal service.
Okay.
Have fun left.
Yes, sir.
Look at Great Lakes Equal Opportunity Employment. They got a citywide maintenance. I want to know, what does your report sheet look like for environment? Maintenance people, i.e. in Pontiac, submit to you from the workman digging ditches up to the engineer. I don't know what they're for. And I don't think council should be past that without knowing citywide how many females. I'm just a
Not as good as you. I can't dress as good as you do. But you look good. Hey, you doing all right?
I couldn't believe
Churches don't invite them. You know, I still live in Macomb County. Okay, okay, we'll get together.
I never heard of them having an equal opportunity employment.
This way.
Oh, to speak on the audit. Oh, he did. He sure did. That pocket is, as I can tell. She right there.
Hey, Miss Richardson. How are you, sweetie? How are you, Miss Rosie? I'm good.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We will begin momentarily. The Pontiac City Charter ordains that the mayor or deputy mayor must be present for a city council meeting to commence. So now that the mayor is here, we hereby call this meeting of your Pontiac City Council to order at 6:10 p.m. We turn now to Councilman Parker for introduction of this evening's invocation.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to introduce to you Bishop Antonio Gibson of the New Experience Church of Christ. He will be giving our invocation for this evening. Bishop Gibson.
Father God, we come this evening, first of all, say thank you. Thank you for a day that has come that we never seen, that is gone, we never see it again. We come, thank you, Lord God, for peace and serenity in this place as they do your business, oh God. Recognizing according to Scripture, God, you said the government should be upon your shoulders. Father God, we ask that we move all malice, envy, and strife out of the room right now, that your business might take place, Father God. We ask you, God, for a fresh anointing that would endow the ears of these thy people that gather in this hall tonight, oh God. Break every yoke, Father God, in the name of Jesus, that will cause disturbance in this place. I ask, oh God, not only break the yokes of disturbance in this place, God, but let it roll out into the city of Pontiac, oh God, that we will be a loving and kind and generous community, oh God. The people of God that you've called for in these last days. You said in the last days you'll pour your spirit upon all flesh. Therefore, God, we receive right now your spirit that we might move forward in love. And God, whatever has transpired in the past, allow it to be in the past, oh God, for you are creating something very new here today, God. God, let civility take its place in this place tonight, God. Then, God, we will get past the cameras, get past the fanfare, oh God, and do your work and do your bidding, that you might get the glory out of all your people. In your Son's name, amen, and thank God.
Amen.
Amen. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Genevieve, I'm going to ask you to pitch hit for us in terms of the PowerPoint presentation. If you can hit the next, the laptop has the names of those for the moment of silence. Thank you for indulging us, ladies and gentlemen. At this point in the meeting, we remember those that our community has lost since we last convened, be it in our neighborhoods, in your congregations, in your families, and in other parts of our community. So here we have those that we know in recent days sadly have passed. Emma Broner, R.L. Davis, Harry Dickerson, Ruthie Dow, Timothy Forrester, Benny Franklin Jr., Linda Gregory, Addie Hanna, Sarita Hardiman, Helen Lee, Melinda Lyons, Larry Matthews Sr., Charlie McDonald Jr., Kenesha McGlown, Jacqueline Ortiz, Azelle Powell, Sadie Roberson, Taisha Seaton, Karen Jean Smith, Alonzo Thomas, James Veras Jr., Robert Vaughn, Thomas Wayne, Vanessa Woods, Mark Welch Sr., Prudence White, Fatine Williams, Charles Wyke, and the 31-year-old gentleman who was found at Terry Lake Park in recent days, deceased. Please join us in a moment of silence remembering them. Thank you very much. You may be seated. Roll call, Clerk Doyle.
Harrington,
Present.
Goodman,
Here.
James,
Here.
McGinnis,
Present.
Nicholson,
Here.
Parker,
Here.
Rutherford.
Present.
Mr. President, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. And Genevieve, it's working for me now. All right. Is there all members present and voting and quorum being established? We are now at the motion to approve this evening's agenda. Is there a motion?
I make the motion.
Is there a second?
Support.
It's been moved by Rutherford, seconded by Nicholson, that we approve this evening's agenda. Any amendments this evening? Councilman Goodman?
I'd like to remove item number 15 from the agenda.
Is there a second?
So moved.
It's been moved by Councilman Goodman, seconded by Councilman Parker, that we remove resolution business item 15 from the agenda. Any discussion? I will be opposing the motion. I'm ready to vote. If there's no discussion, roll call. Clerk Doyle on the amendment to strike that resolution.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis,
No.
Nicholson,
No.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford,
No.
Carrington,
Yes.
Goodman.
Yes.
4 yeas, 3 nays.
That motion carries. Is there an amendment to the agenda to remove subcommittee reports so that we can deal with it next week when we have a lighter agenda, as well as the second special presentation from the Pontiac
I
School
make that
District?
motion.
I support.
It's been moved by Carrington, seconded by Rutherford, that we strike those two agenda items, the subcommittee reports and the second special presentation. Any discussion on that amendment? Hearing no discussion, speakers list exhausted. Roll call on the adoption of the amendment to the agenda. Clerk Doyle.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Nicholson?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Rutherford?
Yes.
Carrington?
Yes.
Goodman?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
7 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. We're now back to the main motion, the approval of the agenda as amended. Any further discussion? Any further amendments? Hearing nothing further, roll call on the adoption of the agenda as amended. Clerk Doyle.
Goodman?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Nicholson?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Rutherford?
Yes.
Carrington?
Yes.
7 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. We will proceed with the agenda as adopted. Is there a motion to adopt this evening's consent agenda?
Make the motion.
A support.
It's been moved by Rutherford, seconded by Carrington. There are 4 sets of meeting minutes in there for the July 25th Parks, Recreation, Public Works Subcommittee, the July 25th Law and the Court Subcommittee, the August 1st Economic Development, Housing, and Planning Subcommittee, and then the August 4th City Council meeting minutes. Not a debatable motion. Roll call on adoption. Clerk Doyle.
Nicholson?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Rutherford?
Yes.
Carrington?
Yes.
Goodman?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
7 yeas, no nays.
The motion carries. We are now at special presentation. Take me a second to skip past the subcommittees. We'll consider that next week. So now we welcome the Pontiac Public Library up to the dais for this evening's special presentation.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Colleen Vieira. I'm here as the interim co-director of the Pontiac Public Library. With me is Rosie Richardson, our board president. And so we'd like to give you an update tonight. And I found out that today is National Book Lovers Day. So I thought, perfect, we're here to give you an update about our library. First of all, 3 times a year, our newsletter, per year, our newsletter booklet is mailed to everyone's homes, and it looks like this, and it really contains a lot of information that I will be highlighting some of it, but there's a lot more in here. So when you get this in the mail, and another one's going to be coming with our fall information, make sure you hang on to it, because we have a lot of exciting things coming up in the fall, programs and such.
Please silence or vibrate all telephones this evening. The special presentation has the floor.
So the first thing I'd like to talk to you about is our services that we offer. The first thing everybody needs to know is we're back to fully functioning. Some people might not realize that the library's up and fully functioning again. We do still offer curbside service if anyone's interested in that, but we are open for public to come in and do whatever types of things you need to do. Some of the things I'd like to highlight are we do a lot of faxing, printing, copying, all of that types of things, services every day. So if you need any of those, you can come to the library. We do have 2 notaries on staff, and if you have a Pontiac Public Library card, it's very inexpensive. It's only $5. And if you don't have a Pontiac Library card, it's only $10. So we do have that. We can, if you come in and say, hey, I've got something on my phone, can you print it? Yes, we can do that. You just email it to us and we simply print it for you. And then we have a lot of things you can check out, not just books, but there's all kinds of media, DVDs, music. I don't think we have any games right now, but if we don't have it, we can get it for you. So that's something to know. We do have a lot of ebooks, audiobooks, and like I said, if we don't have it, we can get it for you. Okay, the next thing I wanted to talk about is our research services. We do offer Ancestry Library, which is, you can only come to the library. The library has a special Ancestry database that you can, it's like Ancestry.com, but it's more advanced than that, so you can come to the library and get those services. We do obituary research. We're proud to say that the Pontiac Library has a microfilm collection of the Oakland Press that spans back. Our website says 1865. The other co-interim director says farther than that, and we're like the only ones that have that, and we're very proud to keep that. So if you need some articles from a long, long time ago. We have those. We also have quite a nice collection of the high school yearbooks. So the schools, when they merged and everything, don't have a comprehensive collection of the yearbooks, unfortunately, but the library does. So if you ever need a yearbook, that would be perfect. And then we do some senior center visits. Currently, we go to the Baldwin House and we go to Elm Haven to bring books and media, DVDs, music, whatever, for them to check out each. I think we go more than once a month, but we're going to enhance that and try to go to like the Bowen Center and the Peterson Center so we can partner with some seniors. And we do have ongoing programming. We partner with the Art Experience downtown and offer art classes. That's one thing we're going to continue in the fall. And we have one more, I think, next week on the 18th. We also offer computer classes. So anybody that needs help with computer services. The next thing I'm talking about is our youth services. So for the young kids, we have a really cool youth room. Little kids can come. There's story times. There's a craft table. We've had drop-in crafts all summer. The kids have really enjoyed coming and doing the crafts and sitting, and building things and making things. We also have games and the leapfrogs to help with early literacy development. And then, of course, we have our ongoing special programs a lot of them are weekly, some of them are monthly for the little kids. They get to do quests. They've been outside around the library and doing quests and stuff, so it's been a lot of fun. And again, you're going to find all the information about our ongoing programs in this newsletter when you get it. The next thing I'd like to talk about, and I know our PowerPoint isn't working, but that's okay, is our teen room. So teen services for a little bit older kids. We have a really cool teen room. It has furniture suited for teens. It's very colorful. It has video game consoles. It has the computers. A lot of kids come in there and they like to play the video games. And so we have a lot of the latest video games. We also have graphic novels, a large collection of graphic novels. They love to read those. We have a teen advisory board that meets once a month so the teens can have their input into what's going on. And again, the teens have their own special programs. We had just recently, we had a Nerf gun fight program, and that was pretty well attended, and the kids really liked it. And that was the first time they did that, but some of these things we're going to continue. The big thing that's coming up next is our end of the summer reading celebration. And you have, council members, you all have a flyer that was passed out ahead of the time. It looks like this, and I'm going to leave some more for anybody that would like to participate. Now, I know it's August 20th, and I know there's a whole bunch of stuff going on August 20th. I looked on the calendar. But there's our event, and it's from 12 to 4 on the library grounds. So hopefully in your travels that day with the Dream Cruise and all the other events, you can swing by the library and participate in ours as well. But it's going to be really fun. We're going to have raffles. We have a trackless train. We have food, of course. We have drawings for the people that participated in our summer reading program. We have arts and crafts. We have a strolling magician. We have cookie decorating. We have vendors. I'm not sure if our vendor spots are full yet, so if anybody would like to be a vendor at our event, you need just call the library and we'll help assist you with that and give you the guidelines for that. So it's going to be a really fun day. Again, that's August 20th from 12 until 4. And some of our fall programs that are coming up, we're going to have a tea party. I think it's the 9th annual. We have our Halloween party, and we have a haunted house in the library. It's very fun. The holiday extravaganza after the parade and everything is over when you can come and meet Santa. The kids can meet Santa. We're having a December concert series. So we had 2 concerts just recently. Vanessa Carr and the R.J. Spangler Jazz Quartet, and they were fabulous. And so we asked them to come back again. So in December, all in the same week, one of them's December 12th, the other's the 16th, we're having them come back and do concerts in the library. So those are something to really look forward to. We're having free haircuts for kids. Did this last year on Mondays, starting in September 12th from 5 to 7:30. There's a barber that's coming in to do free haircuts for the kids. Of course, we're going to expand our outreach services for seniors, and we're going to start a teen book club in conjunction with the school district. So that is all I have, and Rosie's going to speak.
Good evening, everyone. Come on now, aren't you awake? Got to be listening. Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay. Thank you. I'm excited to be back as chair of the library board. I just want to remind you that if you initially don't have a free little library at your house or at your business, we still have some that are available, and we'll provide the books for you. As far as our children's room, we'd love for you to come and volunteer to read on Monday nights to our kids. We'd be excited about doing that. We are looking forward to having our Pancake Pavilion open up soon. And what we're going to do in the fall, since we didn't get it open for the spring and the summer, is you'll still be able to sign up if you have an organization that would like to have pancakes on a Saturday morning, so you can have a fundraiser. We're excited about that. I don't know if you know who Captain Barrington is. He's the first African American that flew solo. He's out of Florida. We're going to be partnering with him, and they're going to do a presentation. So we're excited about that. We want to thank the city for helping us with our summer reading program. And I just want to throw this in about your recreational program. My grandson is playing t-ball. We went to Tigers game Friday night. It was awesome. We're looking at a lot of things that he's able to do. We're excited about that. So there are other things that are coming forth at the library. We want you to be mindful of that. We want you to come out. Please just take a few minutes on Saturday, the 20th, to come out. Get on the train, okay? Get some free food. Sign up for reading in the fall. And any young person, who would like to be on the teen advisory board, we certainly want them to come out and be a part of the advisory board, so we can make sure we're doing more for the community, not only for the teens, the young people. And we have ABC Mouse, which you may not be able to get at home, but we're excited about that, and we look forward to you coming out. Thank you, and have a great evening.
Thank you very much to Co-Director Vieira and Board Chair Lance Richardson. Any questions or feedback from Council and Mayor? Councilman Parker and then Councilman Rutherford. You have the floor.
Thank you, Brother President. I just have really one question. Do you have books on wheels?
We don't.
Not yet.
At
Not
this
yet?
time, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Rutherford.
Good evening. I wanted to just thank Ms. Richardson and as the new temporary director. I used to formerly be on the board, and it's delightful that you guys are here. But I do have a question. When does the reading summer program end, and when are y'all giving out the prizes? Because people
20th.
are all right.
The
Right.
20th.
Okay.
That would be from 12 to 4.
Thank you
That's when
so
the
much.
prizes and all the food, and come ride the train, because I'm going to video you. Okay, if you don't come, I'm going to find out where you are in Pontiac doing something, and I'm going to come and find you and drag you to the library.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Any further discussion? That concludes special presentations. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you for
Our
having
first
us.
discussion this evening, Pike Street and Clinton River Trail Connector proposed improvements. The city and stakeholders now have concepts that they would like to share with the community that will involve the reconstruction of Pike Street from Front Street, just west of downtown, through downtown, all the way until Pike Street dead ends, as well as the connecting of the Clinton River Trail and allowing walking paths and non-motorized paths through our neighborhoods on the east side of Pontiac. I just wanted to make sure the community was aware that next Monday there's an early and a later session, information session, where you can see some of the renderings, provide feedback, share what you'd like to see with those improvements. The first is from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Monday, August 15th, right here in these chambers. So that's open to all community members, so you can learn more about what's forthcoming and then share your ideas and feedback. And then second, at our monthly Eastside Community Meeting for District 7, which is at Prospect Missionary Baptist Church that same evening on August 15th from 7 to 9 p.m. Those individuals will be there, and renderings will be there as well, so you have two opportunities based on what works best for your schedule. Anyone else want to speak? Mayor Grimal, you have the floor.
Thank you, President McGinnis. One of the aspects to this project, of course, is about trying to improve the walkability and other accessibility for pedestrians along Pike Street as part of the connection between the western end of the Clinton River Trail and the eastern end. But the other aspect, of course, is trying to improve the quality of the pavement on Pike Street. Pike Street is in terrible, terrible shape, as I'm sure all of you who drive around the city are painfully aware of. And so that's one of the exciting opportunities here, is to try to improve the quality of the pavement as part of our administration's emphasis on improving the roads in the city as a whole. The grants department has applied for an $18 million grant to try to fund these improvements, and we're hoping to learn by this Friday whether or not we've been approved for that grant. So keep your fingers crossed for us, because the project is a big project. It's potentially an expensive project, and certainly getting this grant money in the door will be essential if we're going to carry it out. But the details of the project have yet to be determined, and that's why it's so important for everyone to come out to these additional town halls. We already had a couple, but we look forward to seeing more people this coming Monday, August 15th, for additional opportunities to be heard.
Any further discussion? Councilman Parker, you have the floor.
Thank you, sir. To Mayor, I just want to say thank you, because I occasionally have taken my bike and I ride from the Bodette entrance down to Bloomfield Hills, down on the Clinton River Trail, and I'm often run into deers and all kinds of things there, but it's a good, comfortable ride away from all the traffic. So I hope that moving forward, we'll be able to do that going east as well as west. So thank you for your continued desire to build that up to where it's supposed to be as it moves throughout the city of Pontiac.
Hearing no further discussion, we move now to the next discussion topic: closure of Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard South Bridge, south of South Boulevard, a lot of Souths, due to structural safety concerns. At the end of last week's meeting, Mayor Greimel announced this recent development. It's been posted and shared broadly on social media, but because it may impact your commute, your traversing the city, we want to make sure it was abundantly clear about that recent development. Mayor Greimel, would you like to elaborate further?
Yeah, thank you, President McGinnis. This is not good news, obviously. I've learned more about bridge inspections in the past week than I hope any of you ever have to learn. And the typical way that bridge inspections occur is that people stand at street level and look up at the bridge. These are trained inspectors, of course, and they're trained by the federal government typically. And they look to see if there's any indication, any sign of bridge deterioration. And if they see something that looks like it's significant bridge deterioration or decay, then they obtain from MDOT free of charge, so they obtain from the Michigan Department of Transportation free of charge, a device that elevates a platform to allow that inspector to get a much closer look at the underside of the bridge. And this is a platform that has an articulating arm, so they can maneuver in and out of the different beams of the bridge. The last inspection was done 2 years ago. These inspections are typically done every 2 years. And at that time, when the inspector looked from below, that inspector anyway did not notice any significant deterioration. This year, 2 years later, the basic inspection was done from street level, and the inspector saw something that caught their eye, and they brought in the raised platform and did a much closer inspection. And the bridge is in really terrible and frankly dangerous condition. The I-beams that are the undergirding of the bridge, many of them are rotted through such that you can see laterally through the I-beam, and it's in truly dangerous condition, which is why a decision was made to immediately close down the bridge. This is and by the way, it's closed not just to vehicular traffic, but it's also closed to pedestrian traffic and bicycle traffic. That's how serious this decay is. They're concerned that even having pedestrians cross it could compromise the bridge. And I asked a lot of questions about that because at first blush it's sort of dumbfounding that a pedestrian walking across it could cause a problem when just, a week ago, semi-trucks were driving across this bridge. So it really speaks to just how bad a shape the structure is in. So we closed it down. It is going to be closed for a long time. I want to warn people, because at this point, it really requires a complete restructuring. If you look at what's happening at the University Drive Bridge and the Kennett Street Bridge here in the city, the University Bridge is under construction already. I don't think that's started yet with the Kennett Street Bridge, but it's slated to occur. Those are repairs. Those are not total rebuilds of the bridge. In this case, the structure is so badly deteriorated that it requires a complete rebuilding, a demolition of the existing bridge and a complete rebuilding of a new bridge. And the estimated cost of that is $9 million, which is an enormous amount of money. The good news is that we believe that we can obtain about 95% of that amount from the state through state bridge funding. Now, we could, in theory, try to prop up the bridge with temporary supports to allow for one or more lanes of traffic to open. But there are a couple of challenges in doing that. One is that alone, just putting the temporary supports there, would cost $1.5 million. And that would be in addition to the ultimate cost of this $9 million to rebuild the bridge. The other challenge with putting temporary supports there is because this bridge on Martin Luther King between South Boulevard and Woodward is over a railway line, we would need to obtain permission from Canadian National Railway in order to do that. And there's some question about whether the location of these temporary supports could compromise railway traffic. The third problem with it is that putting the priority ordering of the ultimate funding we're seeking, the $9 million, we stand a much better chance of getting that $9 million or almost all of that $9 million from the state if the bridge is in terrible shape and closed. If we put up the temporary supports, sort of paradoxically, and it speaks to maybe the poor decisions that government bureaucracy sometimes make. But if we put up those temporary supports, it's likely to substantially delay when we can access that $9 million. So for all of those reasons, we believe we're better off, and of course it'll save the city $1.5 million, by shutting down the bridge and very quickly and aggressively seeking the state funding so that we can move quickly on trying to do the engineering and design work and then the demolition of the bridge and then the rebuilding of the bridge. We're hoping that we can accomplish the demolition and rebuilding of the bridge next year. That's frankly the best case scenario. It's possible that won't be able to be accomplished until the following year, 2024. And so we take this very seriously. We know this is an inconvenience to a lot of people in the community because without that bridge there, people will have to travel up Woodward to South Boulevard or vice versa, depending on the direction they're going. So we're very conscious of that, but we're certainly not going to risk anybody's life by maintaining lanes over that bridge that could result in a catastrophic failure of that bridge while people are traveling over it. So we appreciate everybody's patience. We take this very seriously. We've had a lot going on in the city, obviously, in the past 5 days, and I've spent a considerable amount of time looking at this bridge issue because we realize that it's a serious issue, both financially for the city and in terms of logistically for our residents and businesses. But we're certainly not going to risk or compromise anybody's safety, which is why we're making the decision that we've made.
Councilman Nicholson, you have the floor.
Does this in any way compromise or change the Woodward and South Boulevard? I know we did a traffic study and there were some reconfiguration opportunities there for safety purposes. Putting more cars there, I imagine that those issues would increase. Is that compromised?
Well, it You're right that it amplifies potentially the safety concerns at the South Boulevard Woodward intersection because of what will inevitably be higher traffic flows through that intersection as a result of this bridge being closed. As you know, we were able to move forward some of that safety work at that intersection, and you're raising a good question as to whether this potentially conflicts with some of that improvement work at that intersection. So we have not yet had that conversation with MDOT. My hope is that we can still do those safety improvements at the South Boulevard Woodward intersection as quickly as possible. And frankly, it's even more important to do that safety work sooner rather than later because of the higher traffic volumes there. So it's an important question, Councilman, and we'll follow up with MDOT. The conversation that we've had thus far has been about the decision to close the bridge and then the follow-up discussions about what that timeline looks like and how do we try to expedite that timeline to reopen the bridge as soon as possible.
My other question is, has Canadian Railroad been notified with vibrations of train? I mean, I could only imagine that would still be a concern if it's in potential collapse state.
Yes, they have been notified about it, and ultimately it's a decision for them as to what safety precautions they think is important to take or are important to take. It dawns on me, however, as you say that we should also notify Amtrak just to make sure they're aware. CN is the first company that comes to mind because they own the railway line, but ultimately I think it's important for us to notify Amtrak.
I believe there's a second track of Conrail as well that they go on. They may operate separately on the same track.
I believe that's right. We're going to, I think, rely on CN to notify all of the freight carriers on that line since I believe CN owns the line. And in theory, I suppose we could do that with Amtrak as well, but I think it makes sense for us to reach out directly to Amtrak.
Thank you.
Councilman James, you have the floor.
Yes, what's being done about the local traffic, the apartment buildings, and how are they getting in and out? If you could share that.
Yeah, so they'll still have access to their residences. I presume you're referring to the apartment buildings that are at the southwest end of that bridge. So in other words, that are immediately east or northeast of Woodward, where MLK intersects Woodward there. And they will still have access and ingress and egress so that they can travel from Woodward on MLK to their apartments, but they'll just not be able to travel north onto and over the bridge there.
Okay.
Councilman Rutherford.
Yes, Mayor Granmore, are we actively using our grant writing department to try to get solicited funds as well so that we can expedite the process?
Yeah, the grant writing department is aware of this. And we've already started having some conversations with MDOT about obtaining the funds. I think it's very likely under these circumstances, certainly not guaranteed, but very likely that we'll be able to obtain the funds. A final decision under normal processes would not be received from MDOT until November based on the MDOT timeline. Under those normal processes, we'd have a good sense by October as to whether or not we're going to get those funds, but we wouldn't have a final answer until November. Now that we may be, through political processes, be able to try to expedite a determination, which would be helpful, even if we don't immediately receive the funds, it would be helpful to try to expedite an answer as to whether we'll get the funds so that we can begin engineering and design work sooner.
Councilman Rutherford on follow-up.
My follow-up is also, are we pursuing actively with the congressional, on a federal level as well?
That's a level we have just started talking about exploring because there was a federal infrastructure bill passed that could provide some assistance here. And so we are talking about going after the federal level funding, but we have not actually yet taken affirmative steps to have those conversations with the federal government. We'll be doing that later this week.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Mayor Granmore, my question is, this weekend there will be closure on Woodward Avenue for the Roadkill Nights activities sponsored by M1 Concourse near their facility. Have you and your team taken into account the added complication of this bridge closure with detours and how public safety staff may need to be amply notified ahead of time in terms of the implications for the surrounding neighborhoods if people are sort of organically trying to find their way around that closure.
Yeah, it adds a whole nother layer of complicated logistics. That conversation has begun with emergency services, and emergency services will be able to navigate. It could, though, delay, in theory at least, it could delay response times depending on exactly where they're heading and where they're coming to. So we take that seriously. It shouldn't delay response times by much, but any detour under any circumstance, frankly, delays response time. So even absent roadkill nights, there are scenarios, as you can imagine, that a bridge closure or road closure could delay response time slightly. But we believe that response time should not be significantly delayed, and of course, emergency responders are trained to know what roads to take and what the fastest alternative route is. I think the bigger concern with roadkill nights is the confusion for the general public that may not be familiar and obviously isn't specifically trained to navigate road closures in the same way that emergency responders are. So we're talking about what kinds of signage makes the most sense in that regard to try to assist the general public.
Any further discussion? With that, our final discussion item is this year's Pride and Beautification Award nominations. Everyone in this evening's audience has a physical copy on your seats. We are 1 week away from the deadline, and it has been mailed to every Pontiac property owner and has been circulated broadly electronically. So we just want to give you a friendly reminder that 1 week remains for you to nominate yourself or a neighbor or a Pontiac business to celebrate the hard work they do to go above and beyond to beautify our community. So this is again, 1 week to go, the August 16th deadline. They could be brought in physically, returned electronically, or by mail. Attention Pontiac City Council here at Pontiac City Hall. And on the web page for the Pontiac City Council on the city's website, you can find an electronic copy as well. I will note, just so that I start an inner turf battle, that of the 7 city council districts, the 2 districts that have had the highest response rate so far are Districts 4 and District 6.
What?
So we'll work to catch up and surpass them.
Now, wait a minute.
Let's all make an effort in every corner of our community. Just this evening, I drove out on South Boulevard and I saw Greg on South Boulevard right before Bagley doing his landscaping.
Yes.
And he says hi. But I told him how amazing his lawn looked, and that just there's so many people that work so hard, especially all summer long. It can be really hard with warmer weather. And so I just want to make sure everyone knows about that opportunity so our neighbors and neighboring business owners can be celebrated for the hard work that they do. Any further discussion on that point? Councilwoman Rutherford.
Shameless plug, District 1, let's go. I need y'all to turn y'all papers in so we can win. Thank you so much. District 1. Thank you.
Any further discussion? All right, we now move to recognition of elected officials. Are there any elected officials with us this evening that wish to take the podium? Chairman Rosie Lance Richardson, Chair of the Pontiac Library Board.
Good evening again. I just want to remind everybody again about the event on the 20th, but also I want to make sure that you come out to the library on other occasions too, to make sure that, and I believe that the question came from Pastor Parker regarding the mobile book, right? We're working on that. We have both General Motors and Ford. We're in negotiation with them to help us support getting that mobile out, because that was something that Joyce Allen had talked about previously and before her passing. And so we want to make sure that that comes into fruition with her. So if anybody knows anybody else that can support us with that, we'd be more than glad to have you give us some information on that. Thank you.
Thank you. H. Bill Maxey, Pontiac Library Board Trustee, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, H. Bill Maxey, on the Library Board, City of Pontiac. Dissemination of information from 3 to 5 for landlord-tenant information. to our seniors and our people that are looking for affordable rental places, do not sign contracts over the telephone. If you have a contract, get in contact 3 hours, 3 to 5. We're not legal people, but we have a right to have information. And I said this every week, dissemination to you so you can understand what's happening with the contracts between our tenants and landlord. And it still remain a perplexing problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Other elected officials that wish to have the floor? With that, we move now to agenda address. President Pro Tem Carrington.
Thank you, President McGinnis. Bishop Antonio Gibson.
Thank you, Brother President Pro Tem and President City Council. I'd like to speak to this audit that is going on. I can't say that I'm very happy about the outcome of most of this audit, but I can say this with a surety. I've been in this community over 50 years. Over 50 years, 9 properties in this city, and we pay taxes on all 9 of those properties. I do believe as a city and people that live in this city that we need to learn how to be more forgiving and understanding. Even in this audit, I will hope that we hold not one person accountable for what might be mishandled or misused or misappropriated, but hold everyone that's involved for misappropriation of funds. It's never no good to destroy one person in the community when it's more than one person at fault. And I ask that this council, take a real good look at what people are saying, how they're saying, and how they jumped on one ship to the other ship before we make a decision and what we're going to send up to our state attorney general. That's my comment. Thank you for my time.
Thank you, sir. Pastor Rodale Talbert. I'm sorry. I'm trying. Rodney, sir, my apology.
It's fine. I've been called a lot of names. Grace and peace be unto you from God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Ghost. All three is as one. I'm the pastor of Liberty Missionary Baptist Church in District 1. Most of my members here, and they're listening online. I teach my members 3 things. Hosea chapter 6, people perish because of lack of knowledge. I teach them about truth above all is important, and God do not like liars. That's just it. Facts is facts. Truth is truth. You can't get around that. It doesn't make a difference who did it, but it does make a difference that people in this city has allowed my residents at Liberty Missionary Baptist Church to pay taxes that have been misappropriated, misused, misfunded, or whatever word you want to use. It's wrong, period. It doesn't make a difference. Everybody that was part of this should be punished, period. End of story. So my recommendation coming from my members, and we talk about this every Sunday, everybody, because I bring everything that the city council have from Tuesday. We talk about it on Sunday at 11 o'clock. And here's the deal. 7-0. 7-0 is what we're looking at. We want 7-0 for the resolution to be sent to the U.S. attorney in Detroit. We don't care who. We don't care why. We want results. The audit said what it says. Now let the U.S. District Attorney make a decision on what needs to be done. God bless.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Deidre Waterman.
Council, citizens, I've been asked by some concerned citizens to come and read the statement that I'd given to the press. It is sad that Mayor Ramos started off the very first day of his term as mayor with personal attacks against me. With all the transformational progress that Pontiac has made and the huge surplus in economic development I had left for him to build on, citizens had hoped that he would use that head start to benefit the continued progress of the city rather than repeating the slander politics of his past. I feel vindicated by the report of the auditors, even though they said that their research was limited because 11 people refused to participate in what they felt was an intentional smear campaign. The forensic auditors' calculations of their major findings disagree with the figures I relied upon from key senior finance department executives, Plant Moran, the city's long-term accounting firm, and the city attorneys Gianmarco Mullins and Horton, all of whom have been suspiciously fired or let go by the mayor in the last few weeks without ready replacements to perform these important tasks for the city. The forensic auditors also wanted me to keep my answers to them secret, but I copied the entire council so the information would be public and transparent.
Order, please.
This was to escape the ongoing cover-up about matters that Mayor Grimal did not want included in the forensic audit. Under my administration, Pontiac was on a trajectory of success and enjoyed well-publicized progress, which changed the narrative of this city. I was the first strong mayor ever to be reelected to Pontiac because of my long record of integrity, humanity, and service to the city. I always did the right thing for Pontiac, and I shouldn't be persecuted at the personal political vendetta of Tim Grimal. The rest will be revealed in time.
Thank you. Ms. Darlene Clark, what item on the agenda, ma'am?
Hi, I'm here as a resident. One second. I'm here as a resident. I'm here to talk about the roadkill for our area, for our district, and our street. Right now, we have traffic coming through earlier. They're racing cars.
Ms. Clark, that wasn't
not an agenda
item. But you can talk about it through public comment.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Ms. Gloria Miller.
Good evening, everyone. You know, for 4 years I sat on the council and I said, I watched and I talked about corruption. You're right, Pastor. When you stand on truth, truth is gonna stand. Sometimes I stood all by myself, but I stood. And I'm going to say this. You're right. I'm trying to think of the pastor, the first one that spoke. That one person, he's correct. There's more than her. And the funny thing is, a lot of them still working here with the same administration, with a different administration. I just took one of my residents out in the hall. We go way back. I lived in this city all my life. I love the city. I breathe it. I have seniors here. I have never taken a penny from the city of Pontiac. I have poured my heart out for the city of Pontiac. Everything I did for my district is for them. Never wanted anything for them. Still work for them and don't even get paid. And going to do it until I die. Because I live here. And what has happened to this city, I'm going to have to say this, because anybody know me, I'm going to speak truth to power. It's a lot of people who were dragged along, and some of them ain't who you're going to think it is. And let's be honest, there's some pastors in it. It's some residents in it. It's some people around here that's in it. And I know who they are. I just want the forensic audit to speak for itself. I'm glad I've been vindicated. I fussed, I hollered, I screamed because I knew money was being taken from my residents. There's nothing corrupt about me. You want to do corruption? Don't do me. There's nothing about me corrupt. It's all about the people. It hurts me when I drive through Pontiac and see my city, how bad it looks. The grass. And Parker, I'm going to get back to you doing my public comments. We got to get out there and get the weeds on Coon Street and back behind Galloway. The residents want that junk up. They want that up. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Larry Jasper. What item on the agenda, sir? Okay.
Go ahead. So I want to talk for the people here. I filed an RFP for a partnership with the city. The mayor at that time took no time with a 200-page business plan that the people will get an equity interest in, dividends, and jobs. $25 to $40 an hour, we'd be paying union labor people or contractors money here because of the wraparound insurance. With that said, she used a private entity, and she proposed things that were illegal, tried to use an illegal clause, and did that through attorney-client privilege that wasn't exposed to the city and kept everything private and did everything in her power to hide that information. Today, in public comments, I have documents blown up so everybody can see the truth. The forensic audit was limited, and it showed $1.6 million. I tell you, there's $7 to $25 million missing, and it's been fraudulently misappropriated and done in the process of hurting the public citizens. They're the taxpayers, they're the stakeholders, and they weren't given any consideration. They used legal applications to hide the information, and they purposely did not expose addendums, parcels of the global settlement agreement that should have been exposed to the council so they could make good decisions. You can't make good decisions with bad information. On top of that, the mayor went on February 24th of 2021 and stated that the reason she was late in getting the documents to the people was because of a securities provision. What securities provision? All legal rights to the parking structure, the Ottawa Towers, were purchased with illegal monies. And I will show that the escrow deposits don't match up. I've color-coded those documents for the public comments because I only have 2 minutes. But the people are right. They deserve justice. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. That concludes agenda address.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt the ordinance amendment to the City of Pontiac Reestablished General Employees Retirement System, Section 2, to update interest rate and mortality table used to determine actuarial equivalence?
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Parker, seconded by Councilman Nicholson for that ordinance amendment. As frequent visitors may recall, ordinance changes or new ordinance adoptions require with us 2 readings. So this is the first of at least 2 readings. And with that, I want to give the floor to Executive Director Munson and the team from the Reestablished GERS since they are the initial source of the request, and then we'll have the mayor and additional council provide further context. Executive Director Munson, welcome back to the council.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. We have with us tonight the systems actuary, Louise Gates, and if it pleases the council, we'd like to have her just give you a brief overview of the ordinance and answer your questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay?
If you can go with the
Can now.
microphone, we'll
Yeah.
be good, and feel free to take it from, yep.
Better?
Yes.
Okay, very good. I'm going to talk briefly about the ordinance amendment, and I'll be happy to answer questions either after or during my brief presentation. So the purpose of the amendment is to document a change made by the General Employees Retirement System Board. It's necessary because the retirement system's plan provisions are contained within the city's ordinance, which is a fairly common practice among units of government in Michigan and other states. The change is technical in nature, but in a nutshell, the goal is to ensure that a benefit choice made by an individual applying for retirement doesn't create any additional costs for the retirement system, and by extension, no additional costs for the city, the plan sponsor. That's a summary in a nutshell. I'm happy to provide more detail. In my experience, most people find actuarial work to be far less interesting than we do. So I'll just stop there and.
Thank you. Mayor Grimal, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're joined here by Sam Kopaz, the city's attorney from Miller Canfield, who has been helping us with the legal work surrounding the pension system and the retiree health care. We, in the mayor's office, certainly support this proposed amendment to the ordinance, which is why we asked City Council to put it on the agenda for this evening. And I would like to give Sam, Ms. Kopaz, an opportunity to speak to this since she has reviewed the proposed amendment.
Hello, everybody. It's good to see everyone again. Again, as Ms. Gates said,
the actuarial equivalence is being used for purposes of determining how benefits are valued with the optional forms of benefits versus the standard forms. It's very common for this to be in the ordinance, and it's an IRS requirement for the actuarial assumption to be in the plan itself, which is our ordinance. So we have reviewed, it's consistent with what the GERS board did last year, and we support it.
Discussion on the motion. Councilman Parker, you have the floor.
Thank you, sir. Could you guys, if I recall, when we was at the meeting, there was a change in the mortality percentage that we was going to use. Can y'all discuss that briefly?
I didn't hear the mortality.
I think there was a change within the percentage of the mortality rate.
Oh,
that we
right.
probably want to talk. Can you share that? I think we changed it.
Yes, the ordinance provisions include an update to the mortality table, which is an assumption that's used to determine the cost associated with these optional forms of payment. So to provide just a little bit of context and not to get too deep into the weeds, when an individual retires from the city, or they come back to the city to collect a pension, they can elect to receive a pension over their lifetime only and at no cost to the individual. The alternative is they can elect an optional form of payment, and they do this at their own cost. And so the goal is to ensure that the cost assigned to the individual is fair to everybody. It doesn't cost the system any more than it should, and it's fair to the individual. And in order to determine what that cost is, the mortality table is used as an element of the calculation, along with an assumed rate of investment return. Because fundamentally, when someone elects one of these optional forms of payment, it's like a life insurance policy on the retiree. And so you're trying to determine the cost of that policy effectively.
Councilman Nicholson.
So the mortality table is the generally accepted IRS mortality table. Is that every time they update that you're revoting on it, or is it on a standard basis?
So the IRS doesn't dictate the mortality table assumption that's used by the general employees retirement system. It is a table that is recommended by the system's actuary and adopted by the retirement board.
So okay, so I managed pensions for a very long time. The IRS does have a recommended mortality table, but you're not using that.
Well, not for a public employee retirement system.
Okay.
For a corporate pension plan,
Okay.
What you're saying is
And
absolutely
then
correct.
what is the method to determine the change in the interest rate? And what triggers that? Are you doing that on an annual basis or
So-
based on performance and request?
Good question. So the goal with actuarial equivalence, as you may know, is to ensure that the payments made to an individual have the same value as the actuary is calculating each year in their annual report. So in order to ensure that that's the case, the assumptions have to be aligned. And the assumption you're referring to is the investment return assumption. So the expected rate of investment return on system assets.
So you're looking at that annually?
We review it in connection with an experience study, which is historically has been done about once every 5 years. But to your point, probably more frequently going forward.
Is there a particular reason why going forward? Just experience, volatility, or?
Well, it's because the system's goal is to reduce their exposure to investment risk, and so they're ratcheting down the proportion of assets held within the trust that are associated with stocks, for example.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
And when was the last time that an ordinance amendment was enacted for the change in the mortality table and actuarial equivalence? Has it been a number of years?
I would say less than 5.
So 2019. Thank you. Any further discussion for this first reading? Any further thoughts, Mayor or Council Kopaz? With that, as shared, this will come before us for a second reading at a future City Council meeting. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to adopt the resolution to refer forensic audit results to legal authorities?
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Parker, seconded by Councilman Nicholson. That motion is before us. Whereas the City of Pontiac determined that as prudent and fiscally responsible fiduciaries, it was necessary to retain an outside professional auditing firm to assist in analyzing financial matters of the city, and whereas the Pontiac Mayor recommended and Pontiac City Council voted in January 2022 to pursue a forensic audit, and the City of Pontiac subsequently issued a request for proposals for forensic audit services, and whereas the firm of Marsh Minnick submitted a proposal and scope of work plan which was accepted and approved by the Pontiac City Council, and whereas the contract between the City of Pontiac and Marsh Minnick was executed on April 19th, 2022, and the forensic audit services started on May 2nd, 2022, and ended on July 31, 2022, concluding with the issuance of findings in a forensic audit findings report. And whereas Marsh Minnick delivered their forensic audit findings report to the Pontiac City Council and made a presentation of the findings at the August 4th, 2022 Pontiac City Council meeting. And whereas the forensic audit findings report contains examples of conduct between 2014 and 2021 that resulted in a financial impact to the City of Pontiac of $1,627,361.81, with some of the noted conduct including improper practices with contracts, careless spending, incurring of unnecessary expenses, the taking of public records, personal travel and personal use of city resources, conversion of city resources, and conflicts with city contractors, partners, and vendors. And whereas both the Executive Administration and the Pontiac City Council believe that it would be in the best interest of the citizens of Pontiac and consistent with their duty to maintain integrity and transparency, to provide the report to the U.S. Attorney's Office and any other law enforcement agency for further review and/or investigation, and to consult with outside counsel for purposes of assisting the city with legal recourse and monetary recovery. Now therefore be it resolved that the City of Pontiac will provide the forensic audit report to the U.S. Attorney's Office and any other law enforcement agency that the city deems can assist in further review and investigation, and will further engage outside counsel in order to assist in legal recourse and financial recovery. And further resolve, the City of Pontiac consents and authorizes Marsh Minnick to release the full forensic audit finding report without redactions, as well as their working materials, to those respective law enforcement agencies. That is the motion before us. Any discussion on the motion? This is a very serious situation that we take very seriously. For those that were here at the most recent Pontiac City Council meeting of August 4th, there was a thorough and exhaustive presentation by the forensic auditing firm of Marsh Minnick about the nature of their forensic audit findings report. We also went into closed session to review the legal implications for us Pontiac residents, us Pontiac taxpayers, so that way we can ensure that the financial and legal jeopardy and implications for us taxpayers can be minimized and prevented. So we have this matter before us not because we are excited or thrilled about it, but because it is necessary and our duty and obligation. Any further discussion on the motion before us? With that, speakers list exhausted. Roll call on adoption of the Pontiac City Council resolution to refer the forensic audit findings report to the United States Attorney's Office and law enforcement agencies, and authorize Marsh Minnick to release their report and working materials to those agencies. Roll call, Clerk Doyle.
Rutherford.
Yes.
Carrington.
Yes.
Goodman.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
Nicholson.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
7 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution to pursue review and implementation of recommendations for strengthened financial practices identified through the forensic audit process.
Moved by Carrington.
Supported by Rutherford.
It has been moved by President Pro Tem Carrington and seconded by Councilman Goodman for us to adopt the City Council resolution to pursue the review and implementation of recommendations for strengthened financial practices identified through the forensic audit process. For the sake of brevity, many of the initial clauses in this resolution mirror the resolution that we just read because the forensic audit and its finding report is the basis for what leads to the action items. So I will read the action items for the community. Therefore, be it resolved that the Pontiac Mayor and Pontiac City Council are concerned with the troubling findings identified in the Forensic Audit Findings Report regarding financial operations and oversight for the City of Pontiac between 2014 and 2021, and are committed to making improvements in that area to prevent future deficiencies and weaknesses. And further resolved, the Pontiac Mayor and City Council are fully committed to collaboratively working together to actively review all of the recommendations included in the Forensic Audit Findings Report and implementing safeguards to ensure that the kinds of wasteful, unnecessary, and improper spending revealed by the Forensic Audit Findings Report never occur again in the City of Pontiac. And further resolved, the City Council will, both as a full body and through our subcommittee structure, actively review all of the recommendations included in the Forensic Audit Findings Report and work to implement them in order to strengthen the city's financial operations and oversight. And further resolved, the City of Pontiac formally thanks the firm of Marsh Minnick for their thorough, professional, and helpful forensic audit services. That is the motion before us. Any discussion?
Michael.
Councilman Nicholson.
As it notes that the subcommittee will endeavor to make sure that these recommendations are enacted. Many of the recommendations that we reviewed publicly were in relation to internal controls, such as segregation of duties, some very normal accounting practices. So we will ensure that every one of those is reviewed, enacted. We'll get a follow-up report from the finance department, and those meetings are public. So this Thursday, 2 p.m., council chambers, you're welcome to be there. We'll have our introductory conversation about these items, but we'll be talking about them on a monthly basis. Some of these things can be implemented overnight. Some of them may take a few months. Some of them may take a new employee. So as we continue to delve into that, the deeper dives will happen outside of that meeting, but those updates will happen in our subcommittee. And then I will also, as the chair of that committee, be giving that report here at the full council meeting once a month.
Further discussion on the motion before us? Councilwoman James, you have the floor.
Yes, the forensic audit, while not a pleasant thing to go through, did highlight some, as you said, some weaknesses in the system. And one of the thoughts that I have that I'd like to see us, as we look at these, these internal control issues, I'd like to see us internalize or institutionalize to some degree this process of risk assessment, and that's what a forensic audit is. It's a methodology of examining risk, risk assessment. And I think I'd like to see us going forward here, because we've kind of put a mark in the sand. I'd like to see us really begin to institutionalize that as a city, we on an ongoing basis will look at risk assessment and and really try to do a better job of prevention. It's always better to prevent rather than act after something has happened. So going forward, we want to do everything in our power to prevent these kinds of things from happening. And we do that by putting in place a structure that allows us to have those internal controls. So as much as we can, I'd like to see our assessment process, our risk assessment, really institutionalized in terms of our process. Every year we have to have a financial audit. That's institutionalized in our process. And how can we institutionalize some aspect of risk assessment? I'd like to do that.
Thank you. Councilman Nicholson and then Councilwoman Rutherford.
Yeah, I want to respond to my colleague's comment in that on the agenda in the next subcommittee meeting, we did add the scope to talk about the scope of that financial audit. And what we saw in those findings very clearly indicates that the audit was likely a limited scope audit. We probably had the things, we certainly had the things that the state required, but as the forensic auditors commented, it was largely limited to the balance sheet. So when it was looking at the balance sheet, do the numbers add up? Sure, the numbers add up, but where do those numbers come from? We, as the city, and especially in our executive office, can determine where we want a deeper dive, and I think risk assessment, you're absolutely right, is going to be one of those areas of concerns, especially with our internal controls and segregation of duties.
Councilwoman Rutherford.
I think it's also important that the public is better explained, like in the most simplistic ways of how this works, because a lot of times there are things put out about how the forensic audit works, what we found in the results, and so I think we need to make it more simpler so when the people do come to financial meetings, they understand what they're actually looking at.
Mayor Grimo.
Yeah, I just want to amplify all of the comments the council has made. This resolution, I think, is a really important affirmation by council of the important work that lies ahead. Much of the forensic audit looked in the rearview mirror, and that is certainly necessary in terms of proper transparency with taxpayers and in terms of accountability. But more important, frankly, is looking forward. And there are two, I think, key takeaways from the forensic audit in that regard. One is making sure that we're exploring all avenues to recover, to the greatest extent possible, some of the misspent funds that were not appropriately expended under the previous administration. But the other aspect, which is the most important aspect of all, is putting in place the procedural and regulatory safeguards moving forward to ensure that that kind of wasteful and inappropriate misspending never occurs again. We in the mayor's office are fully committed to that work. I know that council is fully committed to that work, and I'm looking forward to working collaboratively with my colleagues on council to make sure that we're putting in place those kinds of safeguards. Obviously, we have important work ahead in terms of hiring a new finance director, hiring a purchasing manager, making sure that we have both the competent and honest staff in place to help shepherd through these additional regulatory safeguards so that we have the staff in place with experience doing that to work collaboratively with council to put those safeguards in place. We're fully committed to making that happen, and I'm looking forward to the work ahead. You know, we've already started having the conversation in the executive branch about expanding the scope of the regular annual audit. We want to be sensitive, of course, to the cost that comes with that, but state law requires a minimum standard for these audits. Certainly, we have the ability and option to contract with an audit firm for a more robust and deeper audit in certain areas. And so I know that council shares our interest in looking at doing that in certain respects. And then the vast majority of the forensic auditors' recommendations really are, I think, pretty basic common sense. Some of those provisions actually have already been in place, but simply were not followed by the administration in previous years. But many of those need to be put in place, and we look forward to the work to do that. You know, some of the forensic auditors' recommendations may need to be tweaked so they're more appropriate or practical here in Pontiac. But I think the vast majority of the forensic auditors' recommendations make sense to implement as is. And so we're really looking forward to those discussions and conversations, hiring the appropriate staff to help work with City Council to implement those things. So I want to thank Council for bringing forward this resolution and for being really great partners in the important work ahead for both of us.
Any further discussion? Pontiac taxpayers deserve strong financial protections and safeguards of our resources. And we, as your city government, who you have entrusted and given the heavy responsibility, it falls on our shoulders to make sure that as best as possible, Pontiac City Hall is getting it right every single day. And so the forensic audit is just one step of a longer process that really needs to be put in practice daily. So that way, all of our tax dollars are properly safeguarded, all of our tax dollars are getting the maximum impact to make our lives better. So that way, our neighborhoods, our quality of life are really where the resources are going, and not for any waste, not for any abuse, not for any fraud, and just poor decision making or subverting of the decision making process that's called for by law and by you, the people, through your vote with the city charter. And so we take that very seriously, and it'll be a lot of work, but it is worth it to make our system and our city hall work stronger and protect our resources more securely as a people. Hearing no further discussion, speakers list exhausted, roll call on adoption of the city council resolution to pursue the review and implementation of recommendations for strengthened financial practices identified through the forensic audit process. Roll call, Clerk Doyle.
Carrington,
Yes.
Goodman,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Nicholson,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford.
Yes.
7 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution urging expeditious pursuit of requests for proposals of legal services for the city of Pontiac?
So moved.
Move.
Support.
Move.
Who moved that?
I did.
Me. Me.
Councilwoman Rutherford, seconded by
It was
Parker.
Carrington.
Councilman Parker. All right, so it's been moved by Rutherford, seconded by Parker, to adopt the resolution urging the expeditious pursuit of requests for proposals of legal services for the city of Pontiac. Any discussion? Councilman Rutherford.
Just very quickly, I want to say everybody has an opinion, but things are out in the open, and we have to do what's in the best interest of Pontiac, even if it make individuals, pastors, preachers, and imps uncomfortable. So it's time to make a change, and that's what we're trying to do. And you can quote me on it. Thanks.
Any further discussion? Councilman Goodman.
As with most things tonight, I think it's extremely important to recognize that what is being done out of the benefit for the public. We many of us were voted in here essentially with a mandate to do what it is we are up here trying to do, which is bring trust and accountability back to the offices that we have. And part of that is figuring out what is the best path forward, not only for our working environment here in the city, but also, again, how we best can serve and represent you. So I think like that this resolution with the many beforehand are just another way of showing that we, as a city government, are trying to move the city in the best direction for the citizens above all else. So that's all I have to say on that.
Councilman Nicholson.
As we have in the past when RFPs had to do with personnel matters, I hope that our chair, Councilman Pastor Parker, will be involved in as the chair of the law and the courts in this RFP process, as well as our leadership.
Thank you for raising that. I can confirm that the mayor and his administration had made very clear that council members will be included in the request for proposals review of those submitted consideration, as we have endeavored to do with some of the other instances that you have shared, including with the forensic audit process. Council voted to initiate that and was involved actively in the recommendation of which firm was the best option and the right fit for Pontiac. So I want to salute Mayor Greimel and his administration for
Thank
that
you.
collaborative approach, and he is committed to doing the same for this particular request for proposals as well.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion before us? Hearing no further discussion, speakers list exhausted. What we have before us is adoption of the resolution urging expeditious pursuit of requests for proposals of legal services for the city of Pontiac. Roll call, Clerk Doyle.
Goodman,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Nicholson,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford,
Yes.
Carrington.
Yes.
7 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution to approve the mayor and Department of Public Works to enter into a contract with Great Lakes Contracting for citywide roadway maintenance?
So move.
Is there a second?
Support.
It's been moved by Councilwoman Rutherford, seconded by Councilman Goodman. Give the floor to Mayor and Administration for context.
Thank you very much, President McGinnis. I want to turn it over to Mr. Cooley to talk about the details. But this is essentially a proposed contract that would allow for a contractor to provide concrete primarily, although also on an as-needed basis asphalt, for spot work that needs to be done, mostly on roadways, but also with stormwater drains. And without further ado, Mr. Cooley, why don't you get into the details?
Good evening, Council, Mayor. Real quick before I get into these details, I just wanted to give a quick update on the resolution that you passed last week with for the trucks. We were able to acquire 2 trucks. We did win the bid on those, and we got them substantially cheaper than what you approved. We were able to get both trucks right around the $81,000 range for both trucks.
So we're about to do an applause, but I want to give everyone context. So last week, the City Council approved the purchase of 2 very gently used snowplow vehicles from another agency, another entity? Another municipality. And we were doing it swiftly so that way we could get the best price and not get scooped by another community who also is desperately needing those vehicles. And with supply chain issues, if a new vehicle was ordered, it might take many months, if not years, for us to achieve that. So I think that was last week that we voted on that. So with that, let's give a round of applause that we have 2 additional vehicles for snow removal in the city of Pontiac.
Well, and if I could, Mr. President, and I wasn't sure if Mr. Cooley would be prepared to speak on this, but I do just want to amplify what occurred here a little bit, because last week Council authorized the DPW department to spend up to $80,000 on each truck.
Whoa.
For a combined $160,000 potentially. But what Mr. Cooley is saying is that both trucks were purchased for a combined $81,000, about half of the authorized amount. So
another
it's really
round of applause.
a big coup.
I want 2 more.
Thank you, sir. You have the floor.
Okay, so this current resolution, the citywide road maintenance contract, this is a contract that does our it's more referred to as emergency work. If we have a sinkhole, if we have a catch basin that is collapsing, if we have some underground storm sewer infrastructure that is in bad shape and needs repair, or if it's something, say 2 sections of concrete, the joints are bad, they have to go in and do some joint repair work. This is the contractor that would do that type of work. It's not to come in and do a full reconstruct of a street, but to do actual maintenance of the roadway to keep it so that we don't have to reconstruct that street. They do a lot of work on, like I said, catch basins within the local streets. If we get called out for a sinkhole around a catch basin, they will cut out the area, rebuild the manhole, and then put in the curbing, the new manhole cover, and then the hot mix asphalt, which is referred to as HMA in this contract, to make the repair to the system.
President.
Councilman Nicholson, you have the floor.
Is this the current contractor?
Great Lakes Contracting, yes.
Yeah. So they're the ones doing my sinkhole in front, down the street from in Ottawa.
Correct.
Okay.
The one that had the manhole cover, yes, completely. This was our previous contractor. We put out an RFP for this. It was posted on the BidNet site, which is the Midden site that the state controls, and then we also put it on the city's website as well. We received only this one single bid from this contractor. Like I said, they have been our previous contractor as well, and they've been a very good contractor. They respond quickly, they take care of good work, and they do it at reasonable rates.
Agreed. Thank you.
Any Councilman Parker, and then Pro Tem Carrington, and then Councilman James.
Thank you, sir. I just have a couple of questions. How many people actually applied, answered the bid? How many contractors answered this bid?
So this is the only bid that we received. So we do it as a sealed bid. It goes out to the websites. Anybody that's a part of that Mitten BidNet website, they get a notification that a bid has come out. Then they can download the RFP that we put out so that they could return the bids on it. All the bids go to the clerk's office, and then we do a public opening in the Lion's Den downstairs. And like I say, this was the only bid that we received from contractors.
Okay, and did we ensure they had some minority involvement, contractors, subcontractors with them?
I can check on that. I don't have that information right now, but I can check on what their minority status is within their company.
And then, as a part of that contract, are they also open to hiring Pontiac citizens, employees?
Our conversations with them in the past, yes, they're open to hiring Pontiac residents to help them do their work.
Are there any that works for them now?
I will have to ask that question as well, but I will get that information.
Okay. Thank you.
President Pro Tem Carrington.
Yes, thank you, President McGinnis. Was this contract coming up for, was going to expire? Was it coming up for expiration? Or?
I'm sorry, just take a couple
sorry.
notes.
Currently-
So this contract expired, the old contract expired on June 30th.
Okay.
We put this RFP out before June 30th, but with the posting and the carryover, it did not get, we didn't get the bids open and get all the stuff back before the contract ended.
Okay, thank you. I guess my little concern is that only one contractor actually made a bid on this particular job. So I was just wondering about the timeline between when it went out to how long contractors had to bid. But I see that you said it was in June that it was expiring.
Yeah,
I
I believe they had 4 weeks by the time it was posted to the time the bids are due. I believe it was either a 3-week or a 4-week period that they had to, download the bid, do their due diligence, and then apply. I believe this is the same thing that happened. I wasn't the director back then, John Ballant was, but I believe this is the same thing that happened in 2018 when the past bid went out. Is that it went out, it was out for 3 to 4 weeks, and then it come back with a single bidder as well.
All right, thank you.
Councilwoman James.
Yeah, well, this, I was kind of confused about it myself, whether or not this was a new contract. I thought that it was because I don't recall us, any kind of discussion of the expiration of this coming up. It didn't really come through our Parks, Rec, and Public Works meeting. So I was wondering, I thought this was a new contract, but this is an extension of a contract that has already expired.
So it's not an extension, it's a new contract, but it's replacing the old contract. So it's not an extension of that old contract, it's an actual, there was a whole new RFP process that went out. And I apologize, I did not get that information to you at the subcommittee meeting that we were putting this RFP out. We put out about 4 or 5 RFPs all at once, and they were for different contracts that we had found that were either expiring or expired.
Does this RFP extend the previous contract?
No, that contract is.
Scope of work for the contract?
Yeah, so it's the same scope of work as what the previous contract was, but it's a entirely new contract.
Okay, so they're not gonna be doing the cold and the hot patch work. This is not the company that does the patching in the spring, right?
No, that's a separate RFP, and that one actually went out as well. And I'm hoping to have all that paperwork completed, so that'll come to council as well.
Okay, well, this is a pretty extensive contract, and just reading through it, I see that the supplier is expected to provide a superintendent for these various jobs. I'm wondering though, from the city's perspective, who does the contract compliance work for these? Something that has this wide of a scope. Is there somebody from the city that goes out and look at these jobs before they're bought off, or is it strictly this person's superintendent that does that?
So anytime a complaint's received by the DPW department, we send out either one of our inspectors or our engineering supervisor. They go out and investigate what the issues are within the site. And then they make the determination on, is this an emergency and it needs to be done immediately, or is this something that we can wait a little bit of time on, stockpile some work, and you'll see that there's tiers within the contract. So if we give them more manholes to rebuild, the pricing comes down. So that person within the DPW department makes that decision on how that work is sent over. Once it's sent over, then during work happening, we have 2 right-of-way inspectors. One of those right-of-way inspectors does periodic checks of the work as it's being completed, and then once the invoice comes in, we send somebody back out to take measurements to make sure that we're measuring and doing all the contract compliance so that that the dollars billed match what the work was completed.
Okay, so the city
Yes,
is actually controlling the compliance and not the contractor.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we control that compliance. The superintendent that we're asking for within the contract is that they have a superintendent on site while work is being done, so that there's somebody in charge in case something happens. That superintendent calls back to DPW, we respond, and that their superintendent and our representative make the decision how to move forward.
Okay.
Councilman Parker and then Mayor Grimal.
Okay, you said that this is an existing company that's been doing work in the city. Can you share with us a place where they've done work in the city and your assessment of that work?
So, not for this contract, but they did win the contract, and they are the ones that paved Hill Street here in front of City Hall. That was done, I believe, right around 2018, 2019, when they won the bid for that and did that work. They've also, like I say, they've done several amounts of catch basin work, different items like that. South Boulevard between Updike Road and MLK is actually a floating road. There's a concrete base, a layer of asphalt, and then floating concrete on top of that. And they've replaced several sections within there because as it floats, it'll buckle. And when it buckles, it chips the edges. They have to go out and cut and replace areas like that. So they've done work in that area as well.
Mayor Grimal.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong at any point in time, Mr. Cooley, but just to emphasize some of the things you've said, the vast majority of work that this contractor does is concrete, not asphalt. Is that fair to say?
That is correct. For this contract that is being done, it's a lot of concrete joint repair, concrete repair for catch basins, replacing pipe, curbing, that type of stuff. It's very minimal asphalt work, just what around the catch basins within the local streets, and there's asphalt around them.
So this again has nothing to do with the hot patch or the cold patch, which is asphalt road work. And the other thing I want to emphasize is we have a lot of contracts that in a lot of departments, frankly, not just DPW, but we have a lot in DPW that periodically expire, where we go out for new bids or new RFPs, depending on the context. And so if council would like us to try to give council a heads up before those contracts expire or before we go out with an RFP, we could certainly work on trying to create a process for doing that. You will be inundated by a lot of information because this happens, with some frequency. Obviously, we always bring these contracts, at least if they're greater than $10,000, we always bring these contracts to you for approval after going through that bid process and that RFP process. We do have a number of contracts that have gone out for an RFP process where we've received responses or bids where we haven't yet selected a proposed contractor to bring before council, but soon will be. And those include, as Mr. Cooley already said, a hot and cold patch contractor for asphalt. It also includes tree trimming. What am I missing here? I feel like there's a fourth one, Mr. Cooley.
There's also the CDBG sidewalk program as well.
Yes, exactly. So I wanted just to give council a heads up that you'll see in very short order here some additional recommended contractors that we'll be bringing before council for approval, just as we do on any significant or large contract. This is largely, as Mr. Cooley already explained, for emergency work, mostly either underground infrastructure for stormwater drains or the surface infrastructure associated with stormwater drains. So the scope of work may be somewhat expansive, but I don't think you'll see an enormous volume of work as measured by dollar spent on work done by this contractor. But Mr. Cooley, do you have some sort of rough estimate about the annual amount that was spent on work done by this contractor in recent years?
So I believe we have budgeted within the major roads and the local roads around $500,000 for this type of work to be done. And like I say, that's throughout the whole city, and it's you know, the catch basins or a joint repair here, or, you know, replacing, if we have a sinkhole that goes between the manhole and the catch basin, then we have to replace the pipe that connects the two, and then along with that, you know, obviously do the road repair and the rebuilding of the manholes.
Any further discussion?
Yeah,
Councilwoman James, you have the floor.
I just want to, again, you know, just state that our process, the city council's process has been that we would prefer to have, you know, major work and major items that come to us at the council reviewed at the subcommittee level prior to. I realize that we've got lots and lots of issues in our Parks and Rec and Public Works meeting going on, and a lot of it we have prioritized a lot of the Parks and Recreation issues, but ideally, we do want to see, yes, Mayor, we do want to see these contracts come through the subcommittee prior to them coming before council, if possible. Okay? Just want to make that clear.
Well, and that's, if I may, Mr. President.
You have the floor.
Yeah, that's why I asked, because I wasn't sure what the expectations were, frankly. So we can certainly make sure that these, and I guess just to be a little more specific on my question, at what point in the process do you want a heads up before the contract expires? Do you want, once the RFP goes out and a proposed recommended contractor is selected, do you want that to come through the committee before? I mean, that we can talk offline about the logistics, but I do want to just be mindful that we're not unduly delaying certain contracts, but because committees only meet once a month. But we can talk through that, and we can figure out a process, I think, that works for everybody's interests and keeps the committee properly informed in advance.
Okay.
Councilman Goodman and then Councilman Parker.
Based on the mayor's response, I removed my comment.
Councilman Parker.
I just have a really question. Do we have to vote on this today? Pursuant to the questions that I asked has not been answered yet.
Well, I mean, it expired June 30th, so we don't have a contract with somebody to do this work. So, Councilman Rutherford. Well, let's give an opportunity. Councilman Parker, were you attempting to do a motion to postpone for 1 week?
Yeah, because I haven't gotten answers to my questions yet.
Okay, so Councilman Parker moves to postpone for 1 week. Is there a second?
Be quiet.
With no second.
Support.
Oh, it's been moved and seconded. Moved by Parker, seconded by Goodman to postpone this motion for 1 week. Any discussion on the postponement? Councilman Nicholson.
I just want to say I have manholes that are caving in my district. So in good faith to the citizens that I am here to represent, and knowing that BidNet is a very reputable resource that most municipalities are using to have these bids done, I don't support delaying this method. I need this work done desperately.
Any further discussion on the motion to postpone
I
for
do.
1 week? Councilman Rutherford.
So look here, we got gigantic holes on Luther Street that cannot wait another week. You literally could tear off your whole front end. We can't keep waiting on this. We can't, it's affecting. People can lose their jobs if their cars are not readily available. And y'all talking about waiting another week? Why? Make it make sense to me. People need this stuff done. Cars getting tore up. It was $1,400 to fix my car. What's the point of waiting another week?
Councilman Parker, you have the floor.
If I understand, they're already working. They've been working without a contract. So my request is should not stop the work because they already been working without a contract. Am I right?
So all work stopped on June 30th outside of this emergency we just had with the manhole cover caving in. It was a danger to everyone, so we had to have them come in and make that repair. But that's the only repair that they have done outside of the June 30 deadline.
So they haven't been working since June 30. Okay. You didn't say that, but now thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion on postponement?
I rescind my request.
I remove my second.
The motion to postpone for 1 week the move and second has been withdrawn, so we're back to the main motion. The resolution on adoption of the resolution to approve the mayor and Department of Public Works to enter into a contract with Great Lakes Contracting for citywide roadway maintenance. Any discussion? Hearing no further discussion, speakers list is exhausted. Roll call on adoption of the resolution. Clerk Doyle.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Nicholson,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
Goodman.
Yes.
7 yeas, no nays.
That
Thank
motion
you.
carries. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution to approve the City of Pontiac submission of the grant application titled Pontiac Arts Commission Strategic Planning to the Michigan Arts and Culture Council Professional or Organization Development Mini Grant TOD program in the amount of $1,500?
Moved by Carrington.
Supported by Rutherford.
It has been moved by President Pro Tem Carrington, seconded by Councilwoman Rutherford. The motion is before us. And the primary purpose for us doing this swift motion is that that agency that does these grants, they want to see that the board of directors or the authorizing entity has approved the grant submission. So otherwise, we'd normally just say, go for it, and it wouldn't even require a vote, but that's just the unique nature of us to be able to get the money. They need to show that this council has authorized that pursuit. Mayor Greimel?
Well,
and staff.
you read my mind. You know, normally we bring grants for acceptance and approval after we've gone out and applied and received an acceptance on the part of the entity that's giving the money. We bring it before council for acceptance. But in this case, the applicant wants to make sure that council is on board with the application itself. And that's why we've brought this before council this evening. Ms. Borngesser, any additional information to share?
That really sums it up. You guys stole my thunder. We're bringing this to you so that we can submit the formal application to the Michigan Arts and Culture Council for a organizational development grant for the Pontiac Arts Commission. This funding, if awarded, will allow the Arts Commission to hire a consultant to guide the Arts Commission through the process of building a 3-year strategic plan and budget. The objective will be to outline clear goals for both programming and funding needs for the Arts Commission.
Councilman James and then Councilman Rutherford.
Mr. President, I would suggest that we correct the wording in the actual resolution is showing grant missing the T twice, GRAN application titled, and then missing it the next to the last page, mini grant is missing the T. And should the amount of be a dollar amount, or should, where it just has a $, should there be an amount there?
Since that is correcting the title, I will consider that be a typographical change that doesn't require a vote. But so in the title of the resolution, we are adding a T at the end of grant and mini grant, and then in the amount of $1,500. Clerk Doyle, are you comfortable? And Legislative Council Sharp, are you comfortable that that is typographical and does not necessitate a vote on an amendment?
I would agree because it's really not in the body of the resolution itself. Clerk Doyle, you see it?
I just need to, what are the changes again?
Sure. In the resolution title, the second line, the first word grant, add the T at the end of grant, and then the last
Mini
last
grant.
full line, the T after mini grant, and then the amount of, and the final line of $1,500 in the title only. Do you concur that that would be typographical?
That's fine.
All right. Thank you, Councilman James, for flagging that. Councilman Rutherford, you have the floor.
I just wanted to, again, congratulate the administration for trying to push the arts forward and trying to pursue active funding and actual structural partnerships. I think it's important that we have a structurized line to be able to go pursue active grants, to know how to do it, to know how to be on the board, to know how to be on the committee, and to make sure that we're doing it the right way. And I just wanted to just commend you once again, Ms. Borngesser, on a job well done. That's all.
Any further discussion on the motion before us? Councilman Nicholson.
I love when I act like a fool that you guys don't. You listen and you bring something forth that I think is going to be really nice, and it's an opportunity for them, right? And last time I was yelling and screaming about things being kicked back because they didn't have a budget, and now this is your result. And I just have to say that's incredibly thoughtful, and thank you.
Yes, and this this was in fact their idea as well. Judy Wilson presented this great opportunity and is very excited to have the opportunity to go through the strategic planning process.
Any further discussion? With that, speakers list exhausted. Roll call on adoption of the resolution. Clerk Doyle.
Nicholson,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
Goodman,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
7 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution to place a ballot question to restore the charter established tax millage rate and provide new additional millage?
So moved.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilman Nicholson, seconded by Councilman Goodman. The motion is now before us. We give the floor to administration for some info.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'd like to invite our treasurer, Portia Prater, to the podium to give some background and context.
Hello. Hi. Good evening to everyone. I'm the treasurer for the city of Pontiac, Portia Prater. I am here to answer any questions regarding the resolution to approve the city of Pontiac's submission of, the resolution to place a ballot question to restore the charter established tax millage rate and provide new additional millage.
All right, so what we have is the resolution. I'll read it because it's it's very consequential. But really, what this action would do is it would put it to the voters at the November 2022 general election. As you may recall, the school district had a similar, not identical, but a similar ballot proposal, and so many aspects of the wording may sound familiar because we, as a community, reviewed that, and it was before all of us. The resolution to place a ballot question to restore the charter established tax millage rate and provide new additional millage reads: to support the general operations and fire services of the city of Pontiac, shall the city of Pontiac be authorized to impose an increase of 1.0868 or $1.09 per $1,000 of taxable value for a period of 10 years, 2023 to 2032 inclusive, as new additional millage in excess of the limitation imposed by MCL 211.34D to restore additional millage previously authorized by charter as reduced by operation of the Headley Amendment. Such millage, if fully levied, would raise an estimated $1,218,038 in the first year. All amounts levied under this millage on property located outside of certain tax increment financing, brownfield, and land bank authority jurisdictions will be dispersed directly to the city of Pontiac. Michigan law requires that certain amounts levied under this millage on property located within the referenced tax increment financing, brownfield, and land bank authority jurisdictions be dispersed to these authorities. Total disbursement to these authorities is estimated to account for less than 15% of total millage revenue. So we recognize that that's very technical jargon, and we want to know what's the real implication for voters, for us as a community. So I saw Councilman Nicholson and then Pro Tem Carrington.
So this resolution allows us to draft that language, right? What does that process usually look like? I want to yield my time to the president to explain what that. My concern always is something like this is so confusing, and to put it into short term on a ballot. Who works on? Is that the clerk's responsibility to work with the? I imagine it goes through a process at the county, or how does that work?
So there are time deadlines for the submission of any ballot questions. And so there is just a few days remaining for any unit of government, be it, a library, a school district, soil and water conservation district, and including a city or a township. So that's the most critical element, is that there's a time deadline that must be met for it to be submitted to, I want to say Oakland County Elections, for them to confirm that it's appropriate, and then it meets all the legal requirements, because there are a number of thresholds that have to be met. I want to defer to Clerk Doyle.
Thank you, Mr. President. So to Councilman Nicholson, this will be the ballot language if it's approved by the county. The restoration of Pontiac operating millage rate, and it will be that language.
So be presented as restoration.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Clerk Doyle, please feel free.
And also, if the resolution could be amended, because it just says in the resolve, the number 1 on the November 2022 general election ballot, that actually we insert on the November 8th, 2022 general election ballot.
All right, is there a motion to amend the first, therefore be it resolved, so that it explicitly states November 8th, 2022?
I make the motion.
Is there a second?
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Rutherford, seconded by Councilman Nicholson, that the first resolved is just clarified so that it's not saying broadly November 2022. It's specifically saying November 8th, 2022 general election ballot. Any discussion on the amendment? All right, on the amendment only, which is tweaking that date information, roll call, Clerk Doyle.
Rutherford,
Yes.
Carrington,
Yes.
Goodman, James,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Nicholson,
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
6 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. So we're back to the main motion as amended. So that date change has been updated. And the really important implication is that there is essentially $1,218,038 that currently is not able to be collected in this sort of most recent upcoming year by the city of Pontiac on millages that were approved already by voters. But because of the state's law with the constitutional amendment from the 1970s called the Headley Amendment, essentially with inflation and property value changes or property transactions, it's essentially a ceiling now that's limiting how much a millage can be collected because it needs to have voter approval for that difference to be made up. And so that's really what we're talking about. And so, Mayor Greimel, my understanding is that the city's been hit by this a few cycles already now, and each year the gulf grows wider, and this is where it's at for the year to come if this is not successful. Is my research correct? What are you aware of?
If by a few cycles you mean a few years, then yes, that's accurate.
And so each year, even though the voters all said, hey, this is what we want to, we authorize the city of Pontiac to collect this, but because it has not gone to the voters again to sort of question, are you comfortable, are you willing to allow that millage to be restored up to that mills rate, it hasn't been collected. So this is what it's ballooning up to, and if we wait another year or another 2 years, then it may grow to millions that are left on the table, even though the voters have previously said they wished for that to be collected. So that it leads to real implications for the essential funding of services, and it's just going to get more and more dire if we don't address this. As the mayor said, this is something that tipping point already happened a few years ago for the city's coffers, but when the school district just did it a few days ago, they were looking ahead of it. They hadn't dipped below yet since they last got the okay in 2016. They were saying, hey, if we don't do this now and get the voters to say, okay, let's restore that level, then they would have start shrinking below what that maximum collection rate is. So they were ahead of the game. For the city tax collection, we're already behind the curveball when it comes to the restoration of that approved mills. Pro Tem Carrington.
Yes, thank you, President McGinnis. Usually when it comes to increasing taxes, I know that the resolution said $34 per household, but $34 in some households is a little bit much when it comes to increasing taxes. So what's the projection that you will make if they roll back the Headley?
So if the Headley, and excuse me, I'm here on
Or
behalf.
sorry, if you allow us to, allow the Treasury to extend, actually go more or less go over what we right now for the Headley.
Okay, so I guess your question is, if we were to put it to, the public for a vote, and they voted to increase it to the full max that we are able to collect, the 12 mills, like you said, we did the math, and the math says that it would only increase property taxes per household $34.40. That increase would give the city of Pontiac the ability to collect, and we're using 2022's data, taxable values of the homes for 2022 as a basis. That $34.40 would have given the city of Pontiac for this year the ability to collect 1.2 million, like you said, and that could have been used for parks and recreation and other things. So that is our projection.
Okay, so are you increasing 2 mills or 12 mills?
So we're only increasing from the 10.9132 to 12.
Okay.
So
All right.
I'm
Just
saying
wanna make sure
increasing,
that I heard 2 meals.
collecting the full meal, the full 12 meals that we are, able to collect.
It's worth pointing out that because there's already a regularly scheduled election, this is not going to cost us taxpayers more money. Where if we had an election that wasn't regularly scheduled, like sometime next year, we taxpayers would foot the bill to even consider this because we'd be paying essentially for an unscheduled election. So by having this question offered to the taxpayers this November, it's not going to cost us simply to even ask that question. We're piggybacking and lassoing an existing election that's already regularly scheduled and that the price tag's already being picked up by other governmental entities. Councilman Nicholson and Councilwoman Rutherford.
Do you want to go first?
You can go first.
So I just put some perspective around it when we talk about $34 per household. I also want to think about the fact that in multiple meetings we've talked about how the majority of properties in the city of Pontiac are likely owned by landlords. So the persons who are going to be paying the most on this are going to be people who own properties that then benefit from the residents of Pontiac. But then also on top of that, we have enjoyed a large growing corporate groups moving in and taking up taking up space here, right? So and to my knowledge, most of those larger landlords, corporate landlords, are not getting any tax benefit as a way of any kind of tax diversion. So they would also be paying a very large portion of this $1.2 million. Is that correct?
I believe so. Don't quote me on that because I'm just running the numbers and the projections. But
So I can see a couple of confused faces when they say $34 times 60 residents, divide that by maybe 2.5 in a house. It's not just the resident number, it's also the corporate properties. It's also some of those other properties that are owned not by the regular resident in Pontiac.
Unfortunately, that's something that, Equalization Department, handles and deals with in terms of assessing the values and all of that. So,
thank you.
Councilwoman Rutherford?
2 parts. Didn't the property value go up in Pontiac in the last 2 years, I believe?
I believe so.
Okay.
And the projections are based on the increase.
That's what I wanted to make sure. My second question is, if and when this passes in November, when will be the first time we actually implement this program into the city?
So if this passes in November, it is my understanding that the following summer tax bill is when you'll see the increase to 12 mills.
So you talking about when it's $16.99 for some people? You know how the summer taxes are more higher than. Oh, okay.
Yeah, because that is a summer millage.
And do we have a plan if it does pass? I guess this is to the administration side that we would actually inform the people that it's going to be increasing. Are we going to do a whole layout so that people are informed?
I'm not sure. I'll defer to the mayor on that, but I would assume if they have to vote on it, that they would be abreast on the implications.
Mayor Grimer.
Yeah, I believe what Councilwoman Rutherford is asking is if the voters approve it, afterwards, how would we notify residents or homeowners in particular that they should expect to see an increased bump in their tax rate? And if the voters decide that they want to pass this in November, we'd have an opportunity timing-wise to include a notice. I think we'd still have time to include a notice in the December tax bill so that with the December tax bill, they could receive a notification that for the following tax bill in July, they would see an increase.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And that would be my suggestion, is to add a mailing in from the mayor's office in the winter tax bill informing the residents of the increase.
And what we'll commit to as the city council is trying regularly between now and November frequently offer up opportunities for this information to be amplified. And we encourage any questions that might be asked, please offer them up so that way we can do some deep dive on this. As has been mentioned, it's been a minute since the city has addressed these questions, so it's not like it's common, secondhand knowledge to anyone in the city. We want everyone to be able to bone up and know what the implications are, regardless of the outcome. And it's truly the Pontiac residents' decision. Mayor Grimel, this is not what we're going to be considering tonight. But that same Headley Amendment rollback is also sort of pushing down on the senior services millage and the youth recreation millage either already or will be at some point. Is that correct? So essentially any of these millages also have that same Headley rollback pressure.
That's exactly right. The Headley rollback dynamic applies to all of the millages levied by the city or any municipality for that matter. And so in the case of the city, it would apply to the youth rec millage, the seniors millage, it would apply to capital improvements millage. It's not a city millage, it's a library board and library system millage, but it applies to the library millage, it applies to the school millage, as has already been discussed. So the Headley rollback dynamic applies to any millage levied by any governmental entity at the local level on property taxes. And so, I guess in theory, the city could try to put on the ballot this for a number of city millages, but that would likely be very confusing to voters.
And if I may piggyback on what the mayor just said, also include sanitation in that, right? So if you include the sanitation millage, that may reduce the actual sanitation fee that we have to charge. So if the Headley rollback is voted in by the customer or by the residents, we do charge a sanitation fee, and there is a sanitation millage. However, if you guys can, if they voted in and the sanitation millage is increased due to the voters voting in the increased, to be able to capitalize on the full Headley millage, then they may not pay as much on the sanitation fee that they're also charged. So that will be a plus for the city of Pontiac's residents.
If the council affirmatively votes this evening, it then goes for submission, and we anticipate then it would be on all Pontiac voters' ballots for this fall in the general election. And I know that the city council will advocate and cooperate where we can with the administration so that way it can be regularly communicated, so that Pontiac voters aren't taken by surprise, that they, no matter what they decide, they at least understand what's in front of them. Because as Councilman Nicholson alluded to, and we all can agree, this is very technical language, and sometimes voters just simply don't want to, vote contrary to what they want to see happen. And when there's language that is technical, which the state law requires, it can be hard for voters to sometimes know what that yes or that no vote, what the outcome is. Councilwoman James?
Yeah, I understand the question before us, but I just want to make it clear that this is very complicated. And most people, myself included, do not understand this Headley dynamic and how try to figure out, is this really a tax increase, or is this something that we are doing to keep the Headley Amendment from, it's hard to figure it out. And so hopefully as we go forward with this, because it's a necessity, there is a Headley Amendment, it does reduce the amount of millage that we're able to collect, so we've got to do something. I'd like to see us get rid of the Headley Amendment, but since, that's not on the table, by all means, let's get somebody in here that can really explain this whole dynamic in regular terms that people, everyday people can understand. Because I had people call me about the what was the language that was on the election that we just had, the ballot, and they said, "What is this? What am I voting for?" Yeah. And it's very, and it's going to be complicated if we get it on the next ballot. We need someone who can sit down and actually really explain this in terms that people can understand it, because it's very, very complicated, and I don't think we should even assume that the average person should have to try to comprehend this. Somebody needs to make it plainer than it is on this piece of paper of what it is we are actually trying to do. So just my comment there.
Thank you. Other discussion? Councilman Clerk Doyle.
I just noticed because the deadline is next week, Tuesday at 4 p.m., the language has to be on there. There's no option for voters to select. There needs to be a yes and a no in the under the millage question.
Is there a motion to amend the resolution to insert the yes and the no option?
I make the motion.
Support.
It has been moved by Councilman Rutherford and seconded by Councilman Nicholson that the words yes and no as two corresponding boxes follow the language of the restoration of Pontiac operating millage rate. Does that hit the mark, Clerk Doyle?
I believe so.
Any further discussion on the motion before us, which is just the amendment, adding the language that allows it just codifies what we were anticipating, that there's a yes and a no option for the voters to register how they feel. Hearing no further discussion, roll call on that amendment, adding yes and no.
Goodman,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Guinness,
Yes.
Nicholson,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford,
Yes.
Carrington.
Yes.
7 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. We're back to the main motion as amended. Are there any other amendments, discussion? Hearing no further discussion and no further motions before us, speakers list is exhausted. Roll call on the adoption of a resolution to place a ballot question to restore the charter established tax millage rate and provide new additional millage on the November 8th, 2022 ballot. Roll call, Clerk Doyle.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford,
Yes.
Carrington,
Yes.
Goodman,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Nicholson.
Yes.
7 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. We are now at public comment. Pro Tem Carrington.
Thank you, President McGinnis. I'm kind of glancing. Yes, I see Melissa back there. You have the floor.
Good evening. My name is Melissa Musa Spearing. I am the manager of Ottawa Park and Oak Hill Cemetery. You might not have seen me for the last 7 weeks, but I'm back. Happy summer vacation, everybody. Well, I just came to see what was going on. I want to thank everybody that had stopped me along the way the last 7 weeks in the grocery store, at the park. Even the ones that told me that my daughter looks like my twin. Thank you. I appreciate that. I also wanted to talk about, at Ottawa Park, we are now building our brand new mausoleum. So I'm encouraging families that have any loved ones that would rather go in a mausoleum than a traditional burial to please give us a call. We are running some great specials, and it would be a great forever home. Also, I know that every week you guys do the reading of the people that have passed. I'm wondering if we can start including the Ottawa Park people, because they too are your families, kind of thing. So I'd really love to see that. My staff also sent me a text message and asked that I would inquire on that today while I'm here. Besides that, we've been working around the clock lately, just trying to get Ottawa Park and Oak Hill to look magnificent. So thanks to Al Cooley and DPW for getting out there and filling those potholes for the moment, because it has dramatically decreased my telephone calls every week. I still get quite a few calls about the trees, but I know we're a work in progress. Besides that, I think that's it. So I will catch you guys in the next weeks. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Miss Billy Swayzer.
Hello, this afternoon, my name is Billy Swayzer. I want to thank the council and the mayor for the forensic audit on the previous administration. And I wish that we could get a copy that does not have edits out or blackouts, so that we know who these people are that did what they did. But I am glad that it is going forward for legal consequences, because this is a lot of money for the city of Pontiac to be without and not be able to. I don't know. I understand why the mayor got up here and act like she ain't do nothing, because the rest of us the rest of us that live in the city and work around City Hall and visit around City Hall and know city departments know there were some problems going on. And it was hard hearing how much money was being spent on legal services and flat out just cheating. But hey, we'll move forward with that, read the recommendations and look forward to seeing what recommendations that the council recommend, and that we come back in order and compliance and act like a regular city and not like a bunch of lunatics and want to steal money. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Blair McGowan.
Blair McGowan, 34 State Street, Pontiac. One of the former mayors in about 2016 snarled at me and said it would be a decade before you folks could mismanage the city again. Well, we sure proved him wrong. I'm referring to the audit. The audit showed that we mismanaged the city much sooner than a decade, and it's a shame. And I hope that we can correct it, and I hope we can establish high rules. And over the years that I've been in town, since 1988, I've seen city council people go to jail and all kinds of skullduggery. And I hope that we can create new rules and live by them. And I hope we don't ever have to see any of you well-intentioned people fall. That would be a shame. I'm very discouraged, but I'm not surprised. The mayor said that he was truly gravely concerned, truly alarmed, and not at all shocked. I'm not shocked either. I'm just disappointed, I'm tired, I'm fatigued, and it's time that we started moving in a better direction. And I recognize that it's not internal. We've been under assault. We've been under assault from outside forces for decades because this is a minority city. And we can point to specific issues like the imposition of the emergency manager system that took advantage of our mistakes and took control of the city. We can look back many years and see how we're under assault. And we're smart enough to rise above that. And I want to point to a specific thing that we can consider doing. Al Cooley pointed out he got one bid on a big construction project. Only one bid. The mayor pointed out we've got to fix a bridge and it's going to cost $9 million, and somebody's going to get that contract. And we all know that we're going to redo Wide Track and it's going to cost 10 or 15 or $20 million. There's an interesting essay called White Man's Highways Through Black Man's Homes. It wiped out the corner, it wiped out Paradise Valley down at 375 in Detroit. And what we can do today is try to give jobs to minority contractors, develop them, put them in place so they can get work, and try to build our city, build our community, and correct the mistakes of the past without doing unfair and unlawful bidding. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Darlene Clark.
Hi there. I'm here as a resident for District 1. A question to the council people, to all 7 council people. You get $225,000 of district funds that's divided up in 7. You had money left over from last year. You have anywhere between $32,000 to $38,000. My question to you on that, couldn't you take some of that money and put into your district to cut down some of the trees that have overgrown in a lot of people's yards? Understand that I do know that it's the owner's responsibility, but because of lack of code enforcement, investors, landlords, property owners, all the people that has came into the city to take over the city. The trees is outrageous. They infringing on other people's yards. They're infringing on other people's driveways. They're infringing on other people's garages, houses. The DTE has cut down as much as they could, but it didn't help the matter. It actually just made it look worse. So could you take in your budgets, consider that? That's my first question. My second question, P. Waterman and D. Waterman both for 12 years was on the Gurge Fund and overseeing the money and the conditions of the Gurge Fund. Will the Forensic Audit, if there's a continuation of it, find any fault that helped contribute to the delay of the settlement, what's going on with the city for these people to get their money? Because if she took 1.6 million from the city, there's no telling what, the Watermans have taken from the Gurge Fund.
Ms. Gloria Miller.
Okay, good evening. Okay, first I'm gonna address the council. You guys just voted on the millage. I'm gonna get out there, I'm gonna hustle every day. It's no way in the world, I would say another word, but I know kids is watching, that I'm gonna vote for a millage. That I can't even drive down the street and get the grass cut. No way. You guys don't listen to the people. And I'm just gonna call it. See, that's what happened with the last administration. Nobody called it out. When you see it wrong, you gotta call it out. We can't love our officials so much that you don't call them out. This is what the last administration did to us. They brought things to us at the last minute. But you haven't talked to us about it yet. You just went on and voted because it's due. Calm down, Gloria. When you stand for something, you got to stand for something. You got to stand for your constituents. A millage? Do you really think I will pay a millage in the city of Pike the way it looks? We coming down to you every week to get the grass cut. I got to people talk about Coon Street, grass going up above, water going in these people's homes. You asking them for more money? And they can't even get that done. We got over there by Kettering, up against Galloway Park. We don't know who owned Galloway. Those homes up on Kettering Street, they've been begging me for 2 years to get that stuff cut in their backyard. Right in their backyard, snakes and everything. Let's be real, folks. When I walk out of here, this is my neighbor right across the street from me for years. I care about her. She needs trees cut. We need trees cut on the street. Let's stay focused here. A bridge, the bridge over there on Martin Luther King. We've been going out that bridge ever since the last administration. So basically, we could have got hurt then. Let me tell you something. You guys thought you want to put principles together and you want to put, what was the words, controls for the forensic audit. All you need in this city is for someone to get elected and care about the people. See, you can do all kind of controls you want, but the controls is out in the street doing backdoor deals. That ain't gonna never stop. That comes with you. That's who you are, your character. Watch who you elect. Look, the people we've been getting for the last 20 years. Look at our city. See, I'm bad enough to say that. I ain't scared of nobody because it's my tax dollar. We tired of this. When I walk out of here, everybody watching me every day of my life. My character's in check every day, even though I'm not on the council. But you know why? It's easy for me because this is who I am. People know when you care about them. A millage? Are you serious? And we can't get the trees cut? I can't believe this. I had one more thing to say. Honor and compassion for the people. You can fool people all you want, but people know who you are. You can't fool them. Truth is always going to stand. You don't have to like me. Truth is going to stand. I'm going to speak it forever. Millage, no way. And I'm going to get out there and push it.
Thank you. Mr. Bill Maxey.
Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. Pontiac, City at Large and Governance. Michigan Senior Citizens Advisory Council will be having breakfast with the Lieutenant Governor on August the 13th at Burdett Park between the hours of 9 and 10:30. We will eat breakfast at 8:30, and the seniors will talk to the governor, the Lieutenant Governor, Gilchrist, face to face. We don't need anyone to speak for them, not for us. In fact, we ask public officials really not to come. We want to hear what the senior has to say. Second, I forgot, I'm wearing two hats. One, Michigan Senior Advisory Council. Two, my second hat, civil rights community activist. I listened to this proposal here about Great Lakes. Has any of you sitting up there been an EO officer? Huh? Have you been a contract compliance officer? I know for a matter of fact the Great Lakes, and I'm continuing to do research. Not angry, just telling you facts. I'm going to find out, as a sociologist, FOI, what happened during the 5 or 6 years that they have equal opportunity employment. Did you recognize the minority-owned? Did you recognize the women? Did you recognize the black contractors, the veterans with disability? I'm going to find out. Now they got a new contract, but the gentleman here didn't say that. See, the mayor and I talked about this, 3 or 4 months ago. Oh yeah, it's going to be different. Your dollars for Great Lakes money did not turn around in the city 11 times. But on this new contract, you all talk about potholes, this and that. Hey, do you know who's working? Did they offer internships? No, you're interested about the money. You better start caring about these citizens. We have contractors in this city over and over again, and I'm one of them, a federal contractor, but I want some city contract. As I stated, the mayor and I are talking about this. Great Lakes, Blue Lakes, Robert Lakes, I will guarantee you, I will find out who their contract compliance officer is, and I will find out everything about the EEO. I bet you $1 to a donut they don't have a contract compliance officer, and they don't have an EOE officer. They will not come in this city and work and not honor subcontractors. I can't find one. You better leave HBO Maxey and the 4 contractors that work with me. We're going to stop this. This money is going to turn around in the city. You passed it, but again, I ask you, what is your experience as an EOE officer? I started in Pontiac, 1974, believe it or not, as an EOE. For the county, I was shocked. They looked at me, maybe forgot who I was. I don't know. But I tell you what, I will follow. Council, hear me. Their EO officer and their contract compliance, I will tell these citizens everything in that contract to FOI. Thank you very much. Love you. Not angry, just telling you the truth. Do your homework on EOE.
Thank you, sir. Pastor Kathy.
I have 3 points to make tonight. Number one, I certainly agree with Councilwoman James. The Headley Amendment, if you do any studying at all, is a little convoluted. And don't do to us with this one what the school board just did. Explain it. Have a town hall. Let the people that are going to have to put out the dollars understand what they're really paying for. Secondly, the Galloway fiasco. I drove through there again this week, and half of the trees that were planted by the Rotary were dug up so that they could put in what they've already put in. And then I wanted to make a point about the forensic audit. It's never just one person. However, if you are in authority, if you are in leadership, the buck stops somewhere, and it usually stops at the top. Therefore, we had children, they'd reach out, they'd put their hand on a hot stove, you'd take their hand away. The second or third time, you'd slap their hand. Eventually, they got burned. The hot stove is on, and they've been burned, and there are consequences, and it's time they paid them.
Thank you. Mr. Larry Jasper.
Thank you, guys. So, talk about the forensic audit, and we talked about it being limited. And a lot of people here didn't seem to understand the documents I sent them, and they don't understand what this is. This is a closing statement for the GSA that would reference 511 Woodward Avenue. What I've done is color-coded these so you can see that the matching numbers. This is a letter of intent by the mayor in order to provide the GSA. If you notice here, 511 is proposed at 10.7 million. This was the same thing that we saw when the GSA came out. Of course, nobody was given those documents. Ironically, at the closing statement, it was 3.848 million. So we have a, I don't know, $6.852 million difference. Jeepers creepers, where'd that go? Okay, then we go down here to the tower's financing, which we see max here. But this little indication of $5.452 million is a penalty that the city of Pontiac paid. Nobody knew about that. It wasn't put in there. Oh, I'm sorry. We put $7 million into an escrow earnest money deposit. That's a real estate term for deposit. We only spent $3.2 million. Explain to me where $3.8 million went. Okay, so that's just the beginning of all this stuff, and I've tried to play this out for 6 months for you. This is a confidentiality agreement entered by the mayor, attorney-client privilege. This is why all the documents coming into the council were attorney-client privilege. It's a legal way of hiding information. Unless disclosure is required by law, a lawsuit has to be filed. Why is that important? Well, here we have a promissory note that there's no interest paid for the first year. We also have their increasing principal balance of $1.458 million ballooning in 7 years. God, where'd that come from? And we're worried about $1 million in taxes? I just showed you $10 million. Now here's the contracts that the forensic audit talked about that they couldn't see. If you notice, this is a limited liability company called Urban Development of Michigan. They want $7.7 million up front or at closing of the GSA, the Global Settlement Agreement. Oh my God, the private group? Okay, what do they include? They want privacy to the Oakland County Bank. It didn't exist back then. They want to pay $700,000 for a maintenance agreement, and they want all legal rights to the Phoenix Center. Oh my God, all of this was just through a illegal subcommittee that was
does
issued.
conclude your time.
Thank you.
President McGinnis, that concludes public comment.
All right, with that, we are at City Council Communications. The Pontiac City Council Outreach Specialist position is posted and open for applications. Walking with the Doc by Honor Community Health is August 10th, 2022 from 9 to 10 a.m. at Wisner Track on Cesar Chavez Avenue. Pontiac Transit Town Hall meeting featuring Pontiac City Councilman Mikhail Goodman and Oakland County Commission Chairman Dave Woodward, August
8. Time 6 to 8 because it's wrong on the paper.
It's August 10th, 2022 from 6 to 8 p.m. held at the Crowfoot, 1 South Saginaw, Pontiac. Children's Health Day, August 11th, 2022 from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Baldwin Family Medicine Center, 1701 Baldwin. Pontiac Town Hall meeting on water affordability, August 11th at 7 p.m. held at Pontiac City Hall in the council chambers, presented by the Oakland County Water Resources Commission. Oakland County tax foreclosure auction online now through August 12th, and then active beginning on August 12th. More details can be seen on the council agenda. Start Youth Theater production of Willy Wonka Kids, August 12th at 7 p.m. and August 13th at 2 p.m. held at the Flagstar Strand Theater downtown. Pontiac Farmers Market, Sunday, August 14th from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. at 11 North Saginaw in downtown Pontiac. Oakland University Nonprofit Management Certificate Program has their scholarship deadline on August 15th. The certificate program classes run September of 2022 through July 2023. More information, including how you can ask questions, on the council's agenda. You heard earlier this evening about the Pike Street improvements and Clinton River Trail Connector Public Information Meeting. Both are Monday, August 15th. One's 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. here in the council chamber of City Hall. And then in the evening from 7 to 9 p.m. at the East Side Community Meeting for Pontiac, 7 to 9 p.m. at Prospect Missionary Baptist Church, 351 Prospect Street. The Pride and Beautification Award nominations are due August 16th, so that's 1 week from tonight. So you can bring a hard copy to next week's City Council meeting. After that, it's the deadline. Ribbon cutting of the downtown Pontiac mural of Elizabeth Dennison Forth by artist Zach Curtis, August 17th, 2022 at 10 a.m., held in front of the mural on Clinton Street, just west of Wayne Street, downtown. Give Me Some More Summer, featuring free s'mores and resources, August 17th from 2 to 5 p.m., held at Oakland Park, 500 East Montcalm, presented by the Pontiac United Education Coalition. E-Community Outreach Services Family Appreciation Day, August 20th, 12 to 5, at UWM Sports Complex on South Boulevard. Back to School Picnic, that same day, August 20th, 1 to 6 p.m., held at Hawthorne Park, 1400 Telegraph Road, presented by Motor City Bounce. That's also the day of the Woodward Dream Cruise, and the Pontiac Transportation Museum has an open house during the Woodward Dream Cruise, August 20th, from 1 to 5 p.m. at 250 West Pike Street in Pontiac. That same day is also the end of the summer reading celebration that the Pontiac Library shared this evening. Pontiac School District Carpool Cinema Movie Night, showing Space Jam Legacy, August 25th, starting at sunset, held at Pontiac School District's Administration Building in the parking lot, 47200 Woodward Avenue. And September is Senior Center Month with special events the entire month of September at the Ruth Peterson Senior Center and the Robert Bowen Senior Center. Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence will be in the building on September 10th, Saturday, September 10th, from 12 to 1:30 p.m., held here in the council chambers of City Hall. They've intentionally shifted that so that you can attend the mayor's brunch and conversations that morning, and then once you're done with there, you can swing through to see Congresswoman Lawrence as she's lingering here at City Hall. And the rest of the events are later in September, so we'll, for the sake of time, forego those and kick it over to the mayor's office for their communications.
Thank you, President McGinnis. Just a few items of note, and I want to again remind the public about the city's Lawn Chair Concert Series, and I greatly appreciate the work that the Arts Commission has done in organizing the Lawn Chair Concert Series. The next event in that series is this Thursday, August 11th. Doors open at 6 p.m. The music begins at 6:30 p.m., and that's going to be at the Oakland History Center at 405 Cesar Chavez. It'll be featuring Paula Michelle and Quincy Stewart. The next event in the Lawn Chair Concert Series will be Thursday, August 25th. Again, doors open at 6 p.m., and the music begins at 6:30 p.m. That will be at Murphy Park, and the musician will be Jill Marie Hamilton. The next Lawn Chair Concert Series event will be Thursday, September 8th, again at 6 p.m. That one will be at Charlie Harrison Park and will feature Gwen Fox. And then the final Lawn Chair Concert Series event will occur on September 15th at 6 p.m. at Rotary Park on the south side, featuring the best performer yet to come. I don't know if that's been publicly announced yet, but I'm going to allow the artist herself to announce her appearance when she deems the time to be suitable. In addition, I want to acknowledge that September is Senior Center Month, and we will have special events the entire month of September at both the Ruth Peterson Senior Center and the Bowens Center. We have two upcoming brunch and community conversations with the mayor events coming up in September and in October. I want to first thank the Pontiac Kappa House for hosting the most recent brunch and community conversations with the mayor event, which was this past Saturday. And I want to thank Councilwoman Melanie Rutherford, in whose city council district the event occurred, for coming out. The next couple of events will be Saturday, September 10th, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Ruth Peterson Center. And the October event will be on Saturday, October 8th, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Bowens Center. And then finally, and lastly, I want to again mention the upcoming State of the City address. I believe last week I announced it, but although we had confirmed with that venue twice and double checked with that venue, they erroneously said the venue was available when it wasn't. So I have a new event and a new location to announce because we're going with a different venue. The State of the City address will occur on September 29th. That's Thursday, September 29th, from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Crowfoot in downtown Pontiac. So we look forward to seeing people come out to the Crowfoot on September 29th for the State of the City address. There will be a reception following with some food, and we're just really excited about finally giving a comprehensive update on what has occurred in the city from our taking office in January to September 29th, but perhaps even more importantly, we're excited about the opportunity to look forward to the year ahead.
Thank you. Your closing comments, Mayor Greimel.
Well, thank you, President McGinnis. I really just want to emphasize and reiterate how committed both the City Council are, and I don't want to speak for them, but how committed I believe they are, and how committed I am to transparency and accountability. That's why all 8 of us as elected officials on our very first day in office on January 4th of this year made the decision unanimously to commence the process of doing a forensic audit here in the city. It is truly a new day in Pontiac, and the business as usual of the past is over. We did the forensic audit to make sure that we were fully transparent with the city. We want to make sure that we have an opportunity to explore all avenues to recover as much of the misspent funds as possible. But again, and even more importantly, put in place the procedural safeguards to ensure that this never happens again. And yes, so much hinges on electing good people to office and on the elected officials putting in place the right staff people. That's why our administration has already made a number of staff changes. It's why filling the open positions that are on the city's website are so important, including a purchasing manager position. And we've already interviewed some very good people for that position. But it is imperative that we be open and transparent with the citizenry, which is why we wanted to make sure that we were disclosing the results of the forensic audit. And I know somebody spoke this evening and said, it'd be great to see the unredacted version of that report. And I understand that desire. I can tell you that the city itself does not have any version other than the redacted version. And that's because the forensic audit firm recommended that they provide only that redacted version, even to the city, to avoid any potential liability or accusations from former employees. And there seems to be a misconception out there, perhaps advanced by those who have an interest in doing so, that the forensic audit and our actions moving forward are somehow focused on one individual. Nothing could be further from the truth. The resolution that City Council passed this evening specifically refers the forensic audit and asks the forensic audit firm to provide the full audit report without any redactions to law enforcement. It makes no reference to any individual or any individuals, because we believe that it's important that the U.S. Attorney's Office and law enforcement have access to the forensic audit report. Nobody up here is making any assumptions or judgments about whether there was criminal wrongdoing, and if so, what the nature of that was or who committed it. It's about making sure that law enforcement is invited to do a full and comprehensive investigation as law enforcement deems appropriate. But again, it's not about looking in the rearview mirror. It's about looking forward and making sure that we are being honest and transparent with the citizenry, that everyone here at City Hall knows that the business as usual practices of the past are over, and that it is a new day in Pontiac with 8 elected officials, all of the city council members, and I as mayor focused on doing what is in the best interest of residents, period. So the people of Pontiac have my commitment and heartfelt promise that that is my personal focus, that we are focused on moving forward and being trustworthy trustees of taxpayer funds, and that we're focused on improving city services for all of our residents to improve the quality of life for all. So I appreciate the opportunity to do the forensic audit and put the past behind us as all of us look forward to brighter days ahead for everybody in our great city.
Clerk Doyle, your closing comments.
No comments, Mr. President.
All right, City Council closing comments. The Honorable Melanie Rutherford, District 1.
Good evening. Judge not, yet ye be judged. For what we judge, judge not, for yet, judge not, yet ye be not judged. If you judge or condemn someone else, you stand to be judged or condemned according to the standards. Do not judge unsympathetically or hypocritically. That is Matthew chapter 7, verse 1. I got nervous because whenever you're reading the Word of God, you want to get it right. Today was a day that things had to be done, and it's called a necessary. It's necessary to ask hard questions, but it's also necessary to hold the very same people who are condemning people accountable as well, because you were there. You watched it. You applauded. Some of you didn't have a problem with the things that were happening in the past, and now you come down here and you falsely accuse people who are not here to stand up for themselves. And I find that offensively, particularly Patrice Waterman, who I have known for most of my life, who is a stand-up character of moral fiber, and it offends me that her name was even mentioned tonight. I sit in this seat because of her, because I watched her leadership for not just 12 years, but the 20-plus years she actually worked in the city of Pontiac. And I, even though I wasn't asked to, told to, have to start calling people out. You got to stop saying things off the cuff and say things that you have proof to. We are not a judge. I am not a jury. We are not an executioner. And we cannot start slandering our past because things happened in the past. That's not my job, neither is it yours. Nor is it your job to try to tell individuals what we are not doing, because I know every day I have hundreds of calls every week about improving my district, and I talk it and I walk it. Lastly, who are you to judge anybody without looking at yourself in the mirror? We all have fallen short from the glory of God. We all have made mistakes, and none of us can sit here and say we haven't, or you lying. And I'm going to call it what it is. We have got to stop being the perpetuator of foolishness, dysfunction, and just downright hate. Some of it comes from colorism. Some of them come because we feel like we don't have a seat at the table. Have you ever wondered, and I speak from experience, why you don't have a seat at the table? It is because of your attitude. It is because of your fear of being left out. If you truly want to see this city change, call yourself to the carpet before you condemn anybody else. Because I do it every day. On another note, I got positive news because I like to be positive as well. Yes, I'm performing September the 15th. No, I'm not getting paid before somebody say that. My band is. I am singing for free. So to dispel that rumor, because I don't want to hear that. Secondly, the District 1 meeting is going to be August the 27th. It's going to be at the Alley Cat from 11 to 1. September the 10th, we are having a cleanup. We also, because I got all my announcements, I'm discombobulated. August the 16th, the mobile office for the Michigan Secretary of State is going to be coming here for you if you're a senior. If you need to get your plates, your license, your boat license. I ain't got no boat, but you might have one. You got to come down from 10 to 3, and it's for seniors only, and you can do it for up to 6 months.
Where at?
Huh?
Where at?
Oh, it is. I'm sorry. It's at 52 Bagley Street. 50 at the Bowen Center. If you need the flyer, I'll give it to you. Lastly, I got a text today that I want to share about the hope of the future. My daughter, who I like sometimes, was just elected to be the Oakland County Dems, how do you say it?
Oakland County Democratic Party.
Thank you. The Oakland County Democratic Party chairperson, youth chairperson. That's important because we have to start telling our youth to get involved and get engaged. And I wanted everybody to know that you can build off that and get your kids involved and engaged, because I didn't even know she was running. And to that, I know I'm over my time. Good night.
Councilman Brett Nicholson, District 2.
The only thing that I want to add on to my colleagues' comments prior to mine is that I love when people come to these chambers passionate about something that they see that is not happening not to their liking. But what really frustrates me is when someone comes to this chamber and represents themselves in a professional capacity of which they are not, whether it be a CPA or an attorney, and speaks as though they're giving us advice, and has amazing, huge, there's a lot of theatrics sometimes that go on. People who lived the experience, I have all the time in the world for, no matter how passionate that they get at that microphone. But when people come in and time after time, and they don't live in the city, and they give us advice about things that they have amazing visuals, don't be fooled by the visuals. Read the resume. Look up the Google image search of the front lawn, and you'll see what they believe in, because I did, and it was jarring. Apart from that, District 2 has had some really amazing things happen over the last couple of weeks, which I want to thank the administration for. We did have a sinkhole, which I mentioned earlier, emergent situation. Of course, we don't want those emergencies to be the case, and we want to be able to do these things in bulk and tactically and thoughtfully. But we haven't had that opportunity, so luckily we'll be able to move forward with that opportunity. The Water Resource Commission, if you've been down Huron Street on the north side, along Thorpe, Thomas, any of the streets that are on the north side prior to Indian Village, has a humongous maintenance project that's been going on and replacing high pressure lines, water, treated water lines that are going to our homes there. All of our fire hydrants are being replaced. To do this work, the roads had to be completely pulled out. I was nervous, and months ago I brought the concern that some of these strips that had been pulled out would be problematic. If you live on those streets, your roads are getting completely replaced. The top level of those roads, not completely, I'm sorry, but the top level of those roads you've seen are ripped out. That has caused some trouble because we have, our manholes sit higher than the road goes up. So please, residents, be very careful as you're navigating those streets. They are in the final stretches of starting to pour some of those roads. Don't drive over the manhole cover. They are far higher than they appear, and you will damage your vehicle. Please drive around them. They are marked as well as they can be, but please do keep that in mind. We have a number of other issues. I want to thank the mayor for being very aggressive on the issue that we have at hand at Stonegate, where basements have been dug out and they're not properly fenced off. We've had a lot of residents come to us with that concern. We have gone back and forth to that contractor many, many times asking for them to secure those basements in a highly residential, lots of kids neighborhood, and the mayor has really laid down the law in the last couple of days and made sure that is on the horizon and will happen as soon as possible. And if it doesn't happen, that they will no longer be working at that site. So these aggressive approaches I really appreciate, especially after we've been thoughtful and measured in asking for these things to happen, and they haven't happened. We look forward to a lot of other things, especially that lamppost that needs to get replaced at the corner of Manitou and Ottawa. That one has been down for some time, and the residents were promised that to be replaced, so I'm hoping that is near completion. District 2's advisory meeting is on the 22nd. That's two Thursdays from now at Goldner Walsh, 7 o'clock, and we are in the bocce ball court, so when you come into Goldner Walsh, you have to head all the way to the back.
What day of the week?
That's Monday. I'm sorry. That's the fourth Monday of every month. And Finance, Thursday, 2 p.m.
Excellent. Councilman Mikhail Goodman, District 3.
I'll keep it relatively short up here. First, in relating to the district, The bridge that goes over Kennett Road is still, well, the bridge that is Kennett Road going over the railroad tracks is still out of commission as it's being repaired. So please, be mindful of that. As well as in the coming weeks, the road of Hollywood between Kennett and Mansfield will get vacated and closed off. Be it that will not really affect anyone's travel because it only affects a very, very small portion of Hollywood. That can be completely avoided because it is the area right behind the Riker properties, which is what GM used to own on the west side of Baldwin. Outside of that, I think it's extremely important as we talk about all the work that we do up here, again, to realize the importance of the work that we do up here. It is far beyond just being a person who was elected to sit up here every Tuesday. There is a lot of work that comes just beyond just reading and doing homework every week. It is doing the active job of trying to fight for and benefit as much of the city as possible. We have a duty to do the job that is laid out in front of us. And I first and foremost appreciate my colleagues in the mayor's administration to help us move in the right direction. Because for too long, many people, including many of us who have ran and now sit up here, have felt that the direction that we were going was not the one that benefits the city's residents, first and foremost. So I just want to put that out there to say that this is just one step of many of doing what it is the job of caring for and fighting for the city. Because again, besides each and every resident of the 61,000 who sit here and do it in their own daily lives, there is a special amount of power that is given to the positions that we have, and it is incumbent upon us to act with said power in favor of, again, the city and of its residents. So I am happy that this step has been taken, and I look forward to what we as a city can seek to accomplish going forward, not just sticking on what is that we've done here tonight and about the errors of the past, but again making sure that we are headed forward in the best direction possible for our residents, because again, as a council who represents the people directly, that is our primary job. So thank you.
Councilwoman Kathleen James, District 4.
Okay, good evening, everyone. District 4 has some very exciting news. We have new businesses opening in our city. We have on the corner of Walton Boulevard and Baldwin a new business called Savvy Sliders. It opened this previous weekend, and to date I've not been able to sample their food because the lines are always too long. I'm not going to get in a half an hour line, but they look like they are off to a great start, and we want to wish them great success. We also have Dollar General, a new store that has opened recently along Walton Boulevard, so we want to wish them also the best of fortune in their new business. District 4 Community Council meeting moved from Thursday evening until Wednesday because Thursday was beginning to be a problem for getting the people online. We are now meeting on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Our meetings continue to be virtual. They are posted on my Facebook page. So if you're interested in taking a part, please give me a call, send me an email with your email address, and I'll make sure that you get a copy of our Zoom link. Some of the concerns in District 4 is we've talked about blight, particularly the abandoned gas station there on the corner of Joslyn and Walton. That has been abandoned much longer than any building should have to sit abandoned. So we really, as a group, want to work with the city to get something done about that building. Baldwin Avenue, we talked about that there are no warning signs there for Kennedy School to alert, and the traffic moves pretty fast along Baldwin. So we want to try to get some kind of alerts there on both sides to let people know that, hey, you're entering a zone that has a school on that property. The road work on Columbia has been extended. They're not done yet. They expect to be done sometime at the end of August. And also the issues that we've been having some issues at the corner of Columbia and Baldwin, some inappropriate behavior going on there with various people within the community. We are working on it. Sheriff's Office is working on it with us. We are not going to tolerate that kind of behavior in our city. I think our residents deserve their neighborhoods to be safe places where their kids can ride their bikes and people can walk to and fro. Women ought to be able to go to the bus stop and be able to get into the bus shelter without being accosted by people who really have no business even in those bus shelters. So we are working on that with law enforcement, and we're going to continue to work until we have the appropriate situation that we want to have. I want to close tonight because of all of the things that have happened. Again, I want to say that the actions that were taken tonight were not easy. They were not pleasant. They were not things that give you a good feeling, but they were necessary to be taken. And anybody that knows me knows that I do everything with prayer and supplication. And in reading this morning, there was a scripture that kind of caught my attention. I want to share it with you as I close. It's 1 Peter 4:8, and it says, "And above all things, have fervent charity among yourselves, for charity shall cover the multitude of sin." Thank you.
Councilman William Parker Jr., District 5.
Thank you, Brother President. Good afternoon, Pontiac, and good afternoon, District 5. Before I go too far, I want to say to everybody that Calvary Missionary Church will be having a revival August 21st. Pastor Matlock is here, and I'm sure he meant to tell you that he was having a revival on the 21st of August, but I think it's at 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. He's inviting everyone to come, but he certainly wants the pastors to come out to have a moment of prayer as the 6 p.m. session. I want to share with everybody that the District 5 CDC meeting will be Thursday, August 11th at 6 p.m. Looking forward to seeing everyone there. There is a virtual component, I believe it's posted on the city website if you want to get virtual, but it's at 6 p.m. in the Lions Den on the 11th of August. And now, my hero, the late John Lewis, said a couple of things. He said, every generation leaves behind a legacy. What will your legacy be? Don't get lost in a sea of despair. Don't become bitter or hostile. Be hopeful. Be optimistic. Never, ever be afraid to make some noise and get in good trouble. Necessary trouble. We will find a way to make a way out of no way. Today, you saw us getting into some good trouble, necessary trouble. It was necessary, and sometimes necessary work isn't always fun, but it's stuff that needs to be done. I would have to guess everybody don't like cleaning their bathroom, but it's work that needs to be done. And so we know there's some work that still needs to be done. One of the things, even as we talk about the city and as we passed a couple of resolutions today, I'm concerned that sometimes we do 11th hour management, and we need to stop doing 11th hour management. And I know we're working toward that. I know everybody's busy, but we need to stop doing 11th hour management. That was a condition that existed with the previous council, and I truly do not wish that to be the characteristic of this council. We know that we are in the process of moving, developing, growing, assessing, evaluating, planning, checking, and moving forward. All of that takes time. I want to thank each and every person who has called me with their concerns And if you leave your number, I'll call you back and tell you when we could probably get to your concerns. But please note, if you call me on a Friday evening at 5, your work will not be done Monday morning by 9. It's just not possible. But it will get done, along with all the other priorities that the DPW or code enforcement have with their processes, because we all have things to get done. It will get done. I have a listing of every call I've gotten since January 4th. I know who hasn't been responded to. I know what they asked for to get done. And I can tell you, the mayor will tell you, I'm sending them emails about stuff that we've been working on over the period of time that we've been here. It's getting done. It just takes time. We have to hire people, approve people, move people from here to there to other place. It takes time. And so we need to allow that time to take place. And finally, I would just say one thing as we move forward. It's simple to sit back and tell somebody else what they are not doing. It seems like this city has a habit of, when it comes to everybody else's problem, you got Superman vision. But when it comes to your problem, you think you're Ray Charles. We need to do better as a city. We need to do better as a community, and we need to continue to respect each other, listen to each other, and help each other along the way. That is the only way we're going to move this city forward. And with that, I say good night, Pontiac.
District 6, City Council President Pro Tem William A. Carrington, and my gavel is ready in case the fan gets out of control.
Good afternoon. It's hard to come as 6 for 5, but 5 behind other people's, because they have all these beautiful quotes, and some even steal my quotes. So I had to quickly maneuver and get a better quote.
I see John Lewis's face on his phone.
Yeah.
So that's about you. That's about you, Councilman Parker.
Well, great minds think alike.
But first and foremost, I'd like to thank everybody that came out to North Paddock this past weekend for the community cleanup. And it's imperative, 3 weeks ago I called for a cleanup. The Pontiac Housing Commission brought their whole staff over, and also a church that's not from here, from an external community, came in, and we cleared like 3 lots. Talking about cleared trees, everything. I couldn't believe they done it, honestly. I was just flabbergasted that we can clear that much in 4 hours. So now that I know that we can clean this much in 4 hours, I do expect things to get done better with our own DBW. I'm just gonna say that. I have to put that out there. Because I seen volunteers clear lots of trees bigger than me. They was like tree trunks high, and they cleared all these trees with 2 cheaply made chainsaws. But they had determination.
Amen.
And they had a job that they wanted to complete on a Saturday when it was 90 degrees. So John Lewis stated that when you see something that is not right, I gotta do it.
Order.
Go ahead, my brother.
When you see something that is not right, not fair, not just, you have to say something. I totally agree when people come to the podium and say something. But he also finished what he said, you have to do something. He said you got to do more than just talk. You have to get involved. If you're not willing to pick up the paper in the city you live in, how do you have the right to tell somebody to pick up the paper? See, for one thing about me is that I'm willing to do anything that I ask these citizens to do. For 10 years, I cleaned up the 6th district as best I could with little resources, but I never came to that podium and attacked the 10th council for not getting better and making sure that the city is cleaning up those streets or our parks. I decided to do it because I understood just how tough it was with having a DBW department that's understaffed, that missing processes. So I didn't want to wait till something got done. I decided to organize to get things done. And that's why this quote is so important by the Honorable John Lewis. He said, you have to say something, but you also have to say, you have to do something as well. So you just can't talk, you have to do. So give me both of them. I'm excited that people are passionate about this city, but I'm more excited when someone calls a cleanup, and I have more than a handful of people from the city of Pontiac, but I have 50 people from outside communities. That is frustrating to me. That is frustrating to me. So we have to be about taking care of ourselves. I believe in self-determination. We do for ourselves, first and foremost. So if you can't do for yourselves, we got to stop complaining, because we really don't want things to get done if we're not willing to do it for ourselves. And I'm somebody in the 6th District Council that I'm willing to get out there with you on a weekend after I work 2 jobs. After I work all day, after I teach all night, I'm still giving my Saturdays and Sundays up to clean this city. So I get offended when people just talk and not willing to do the work. So join me. I put it out there again. Anytime you want to do a cleanup in this city, call me and I'll be there. And I'm going to close on that.
Good evening. I'm Mike McGinnis, Council District 7. To help me remember what I needed to share, I've got slides. So our next meeting for District 7, the East Side Community Meeting, is Monday, August 15th, 7 p.m., held at Prospect Missionary Baptist Church. A big focus will be the repairs and improvements to Pike Street and the Clinton River Trail connector through our east side of Pontiac neighborhoods. So, see you on the 15th. Thank you to Richard Harrison, who's in the room tonight, for working to clear up a clogged drain at Murphy Park. And yes, I've got some pictures. On the left, you see Lake Murphy there in the parking lot that, some sediment and grass has grown up where there would otherwise be a drain. So on the left, you don't see a drain, and on the right, you do, thanks to Richard Harrison rolling up his sleeves and making a difference at beautiful Murphy Park. So thank you, sir. I want to thank Joyce Richardson Turner and Ann Pryor for planting and tending to the flowers at Richardson Park at the intersection of Mechanic and Paddock. When I was by this past weekend, I was just blown away about how, and we're pretty in the depths of summer and it's still going strong. Beautiful flowers, and I just really want to thank the generosity of spirit and time to pull that off. In recent days, the vacant multifamily structure, kind of look like row houses at University and Drive and Union Street, has been fully demolished, and that was part of batch 17. I want to thank the mayor and staff for heeding the concerns that residents, including District 7 residents, shared to make sure that protective barriers are at that site, among others, as Councilman Nicholson shared. And for District 7, we're looking forward to, among other structures, the long-abandoned church, the Liberty Apostolic Church at Michigan and North Jesse. That's on the chopping block as well, and that'll make a big difference for that thoroughfare and that neighborhood. Looking for an update on redevelopment or sale proposals for Purdue School at Pike and Sanford that we've discussed. That's a big eyesore in our part of Pontiac. I want to thank the administration for the mowing of properties on North Jesse, North Shirley, South Jesse, the corner of Ardmore and Pike, and that old central schoolhouse at Union and Pike. That was just some of the overgrown grass that the administration was able to remediate in recent weeks. We still have an issue at North Sanford and Auburn with branches and debris piled up at a vacant lot, and the residents nearby are concerned. I want to thank the DPW for patching the potholes that we had previously reported on Midway. So I got confirmation that those were patched today, which is very welcome news. Street lights, I've just submitted this one. It's a new, I noticed this last night, that there's 2 street lights right on Auburn Road just as you exit or enter the Phoenix Center that are out. So between the Phoenix Center and northbound Woodward, and that would be, if we're able to, really helpful in terms of visibility. Obviously the lights, more lights underneath the Phoenix Center are helping, and that'll just make it even more visible and safe. And then, with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Goodman, seconded by Councilman Rutherford, that we adjourn this evening's meeting. Hearing no discussion. Anyone want to debate that? No? No.
But can I make just one quick announcement?
Oh, Councilman Parker.
I forgot to remind everybody or tell everybody that please remember that Galloway Park dock is closed off due to safety reasons, so please don't go out there trying to use it. It's closed off. And thank you, Mayor, for closing it off until we can get it repaired.
With that, hearing no further discussion on adjournment, roll call, Clerk Doyle.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Nicholson,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford,
Yes.
Carrington,
Yes.
Goodman.
Yes.
7 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. We stand adjourned at 9:21 p.m.